guys. Um, I don't even know why I always say this. I'm like, oh, we got a lot to talk about because we always do. But yeah, I'm looking forward to today's conversation. As you can see, I am just getting started. And so looking forward to our chat today. So, what's up, Chris? Good to see you. Uh, Let me go back over here so I can make my little notes real quick because I just started. Oh, I remember. What's up, Conchita? Hey, Mel Gray, how are you? What's up, Rachel? Good to see you this morning. Ready for Virginia to go vote? Yes, definitely. Good morning, Butters House. Gia, good to see you. Allie, Shawnee, David, Mel Gray. Yay, everybody. Folks, if you're watching me anywhere other than TikTok, you have to speak in order for me to see you. All right. What's up, Kodo? Oh, it's going really fast. Hey, Blue Honey Pot. Hey, Amy. I think I saw Amy and Linda and Grammy. Good morning, Pen 1010. Good to see you over there on the tube of you. Good morning, Yassine. Good morning, user. All of those neighbors. MG Brock, Candy Kiss. Good to see y'all. Yay. Love to see folks coming in here so we can get down to business. Hey, Desi, how are you? Brandy, good to see you. Oh, it went again really, really fast. I was like, trying to say hi. Good morning, Witch. Good to see you. Hey, Kimber. Good morning. Hey, Allie. Good to see you as well. Let me see. I need to see. Yes, I did. Yay, me. I'm so excited that I found what I needed. So that I make sure that I talk about all the things that I wanted to talk about. And give me one second. Okay. All right. What's up, Doug? Hey, Texas Butterfly. Oh, I'm actually going to be talking about something in Texas. So, yeah. What's up, Ja? Good to see you. Appreciate everybody rolling in here this morning. I know that there is a lot going on and you could be anywhere else. So I appreciate you guys popping up in here and spending this time with me. Good morning, Wasim. Good morning, Jen the Vet. Titus, good to see you. Coolest mom ever. I think I said hi to Linda. Beach Mom Wannabe. Lonnie, yeah, Virginia, go vote yes. For real, go vote yes. And by the way, the current president of the United States is having a heart attack that Virginians are going to say yes. So I say, yeah, please go say yes right now. Hey, good morning, Melinda. Like they're very, very concerned about Virginia getting these Democratic seats. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, Nini. No worries. So let me just share this. I do have a hard stop at 2 because I have to get the girls. What does that mean? But I moved my appointment over. So, oh, good morning, Samira. I love that you watch. Yay. And I love that you spoke today. Good. So, yeah, Virginia, please go vote yes today. Yeah, I know, Mel. Great. I thought about it after I said it, but I didn't mean it. Not in that way. Good morning, retired vet. Good morning. Yep, we are going to do a Pally panel later on today. We sure are. Let me see what else we got going. Good morning, Bruce Ford. Good to see you. How is everyone? Good morning, Sandy. Oh, hey, Sandra, you're from Texas. No, not holding it against you. Listen, there is something going on in Texas that I saw. If you all don't follow A More Perfect Union, I recommend that you do. They do really good work. They do really, really good work. And so I didn't get to watch the entire thing, and I'm not going to be able to show you the entire thing today. But I do want to share with you what they highlighted and brought to my attention because it is super significant. And to me, it demonstrates the problem with our mindset. And when I say our, I don't mean us. I mean the other folks, right? What's the handle? Oh, so they are More Perfect Union. More Perfect Union. That's who they are. Yeah. So if you are in Virginia, today is your day. Head out to the polls. Make sure that you vote yes, and make sure that we pick up those extra seats. Yep. Follow More Perfect Union, 100%. Good morning, Amy. All right, so let's dig in. So things that I know that I want to talk about today. Good morning to you. So how many of you guys know the dude that he's on TikTok and has like 1 million some followers? He has a lot of followers on Facebook too, but his name is Hamza something else. And he's a Palestinian dude who's in America. and he's always like chatting with Israelis. Do y'all know who I'm talking about? Do you know who I'm talking about? No? Okay. So good morning, Yari. Good morning, Marilyn. Good to see you. So I've seen his videos a few times, right? And I was like, how Israeli folks? I want to talk to Israeli people, not Zayas. I want to talk to Israeli people. So yesterday, I got on an app to be able to do that. I don't recommend it for the faint of heart, just because there's a lot of weird people out there on this thing, and it just randomly matches you with people, so you don't get to choose who you're gonna talk to, right? It just like bloop 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 bloop, and you're just like, oh shit, next. Because some of it you don't want to see, even though there's supposed to be these rules and it's supposed to be this and it's supposed to be that. There are some people, right? And so I got to talk about it briefly last night when I was on. Good morning, shimmy, shimmy, cocoa pop, shimmy, shimmy. It is a video chat. But so listen, when I say random, I mean random. And I do mean that some people are a little pervy, if you will. So like me, and the next button was like cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Until I got to what appeared to be like a decent human being, right? I'm just saying, y'all, it was quick. It was quick. But so yeah, I'm doing good. And so you get to yeah, see, I don't know about that. I don't know about that on here, but I was just like, oh my God. So then I learned that I needed to switch my I needed to switch my country, right? Because when my country said USA, it was really, really weird, pervy people. And then I changed my country to Israel, and sure enough, just like that, I got a Israeli guy. And so I only got to have one conversation yesterday, because after that I had to do dishes and feed the kids and do all the things, right? But I did. I talked to an Israeli guy yesterday. And so I want to share with you all what that conversation was like. Other things that we are going to talk about today. I need to talk about what's happening in Texas. So remind me, Texas. I also need to talk about Dan Rather and the open letter that was sent to the White House Correspondents Committee. And then I also want to talk about General Kane, because that's really important for us to talk about. And then I want to talk about the presidential, the defense presidential whatever that Trump did. So those are things that, in addition to like the latest in Iran and Gaza and whatever, I want to talk about all of those things. So and let me just be clear. One of the things that I didn't do yesterday was I did not record. I'm going to get there, guys, just not yet. Okay. So I want to go over, if you are new to me, put a 1 in the chat for me. If you are new to me, put a 1 in the chat. That would be very helpful. So I know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm talking to. Yay, new people. Love that. Welcome, new people. Glad to see you in here. I'm going to share with you a little bit about how the space is done, just so you know where you are. Okay. So I only ask for 4 things in this space. I ask for people to be respectful. For you guys, it's over here. For you guys, it's up there. I ask for people to be respectful, to not use slurs. And I don't care who you're using them towards. No slurs of any kind. Don't spam my comments. In other words, don't say the same thing 50, 11, 100 times. And then last, don't type in all caps. And the reasons for the all caps is because I have, it's reserved for my moderators. And then I have folks that are vision impaired that follow me, and we reserve all caps for those individuals. So just be respectful and we'll get along just fine. If you are used to the like debate me bro, prove me wrong space, that's not this space. I will have conversations with anybody. It doesn't matter if they disagree with me or not. They just have to act like they are grown ass adults and they can have a conversation. Okie doke. So that's it. That's all it is. Okay. So Kevin, I just went over kind of the guidelines. Don't type in all caps, please. Thanks. I appreciate it. All right. So first things first. Oh, yay. Your favorite corner of TikTok. We love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Check your ego. So really quickly, where do I want to get to? I want to, All right. So let's first just check out like kind of the headlines. And I don't know if I'm going to get to the labor secretary resigning because of corruption. I don't know if I'm going to get to that today or not. If I do, then we'll chat about it. Okay. So you all know that the ceasefire is projected to end today, right? And I think it's really important. What was that scratching? Ooh, that sounded gross, like nails on a chalkboard, and I didn't like it very much. I didn't like it very much. Good morning, Sandy Love. How are you? So one of the things that I do in the morning is I check to see what is the latest and greatest from the President of the United States, because I think it's important that we know what the president is saying. I think it's important not only that we know as Americans, but it's important that we know what image is being projected to the rest of the world, so that we know kind of what we look like. You know what I mean? It hasn't been great, but it's absolutely crazy. So, oh, I bet Phil's a bot. Yeah, I bet Phil's a bot. And do you want to know how I bet Phil's a bot? Because I'm not really even saying anything. And he came in and goes, "You definitely know when you see a live belonging to Democrats, it's full of lies." What? Right. The ceasefire that really didn't kind of happen. Yeah, you got it. But here we go. So I want to just give you guys the latest. So the latest thing that the president of the United States put up at 9:37 this morning, so literally 20 minutes ago. You ready? And it says, quote, "Never allow the traitor Democrats like low IQ person Hakeem Jeffries or crying Chuck Schumer or the totally corrupt fake news media such as the phony and decaying Wall Street Journal." Now, let me pause right there. Do you want to know why he's mad at the Wall Street Journal? Because of their article that came out yesterday. All of a sudden, the Wall Street Journal is failing and they're fake news and the whatever, because yesterday the Wall Street Journal talked about how after the F-35 was shot down by Iran, military leadership kept his ass out of the room as they planned how best to go forward and rescue our troops, right? Good morning, Jamie. So he's pissed. He's pissed because the Wall Street Journal actually did an article that talked about they were saying keep him out of the office because the morning that happened, he was so pissed. He was so erratic. He was so whatever. He spent the morning screaming at aides and whatever over it being shot down. So this morning, I'm not surprised to see him take a shot at the Wall Street Journal because they had an article that he would perceive as negative towards him. And so that's what happened. Right. They kicked his ass out of the Situation Room, which, you know what? This is at least a step up. Because the last time he was in the Situation Room, he took BB with him, right? So I'm glad that neither President Trump, neither Bibi Netanyahu was in the Situation Room this time. So we love that so much, right? Right. So here's the rest of what he says. And he says the decaying Wall Street Journal, the failing New York Times, subscriptions way down, or dying 60 Minutes. He's still mad at 60 Minutes, y'all. To demean or criticize Operation Midnight Hammer, which totally obliterated the nuclear dust locations to the point where bloodthirsty Iran has been unable to get to it or dig it out. Space Force has cameras on every inch of the 3 sites that were so brilliantly hit last June. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that's from the President of the United States at 9:37 this morning. And then before that, he said, and this is where we're going to talk about this because of the impact that it will have on any chance for negotiations today. You ready? So this was posted at 9:23 in the morning. To the Iranian leaders who will soon be in negotiations with my representatives, I would greatly appreciate the release of these women. So he's reposting, he's sharing a post from someone else that says the Islamic Republic is preparing to hang 8 women, and no word from the international community, blah, 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 whatever, right? And I would just say, so first of all, it's not the Islamic Republic. It's the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? That's the actual name of the country, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so he is asking, he would greatly appreciate the release of these 8 women. Now, do you know what's amazing to me about this? I'm going to tell you what I believe is amazing about this bullshit right here. So, the president of the United States is asking for the release of 8 Iranian women, but he never called for the release of a 16-year-old American citizen that was in an Israeli prison from February of 2025 till Thanksgiving Day 2025. So you are calling for the release of these 8 women, but you didn't call for the release of our American that was in an Israeli prison? Get the fuck out of here. This is literally you doing this to be like, oh, I care about women. You've never cared about women unless you could assault them a day in your life. Right? So we're just going to be very clear about this. This is bullshit. Bullshit. But then he says, please do them no harm. It would be a great start for our negotiations. So, first of all, in my humble ass opinion, he has pretty much guaranteed these women have no hope in hell. He has pretty much guaranteed these women have no hope in hell because there's absolutely no way Iran is going to let him dictate anything. There's no way. And that's the problem that he gets. No, he did not, Mr. Mondo. He was literally sitting in Israel in October when he was still in prison. Do you know the name of the American citizen I'm speaking of? Tell me the name of the 16-year-old American citizen. Let's see how much you know. Tell me the kid's name. Good morning, Michi. What's his name? Mondo? I'm just checking. What was the name? I'm still waiting. Good morning, Alyssa. Good morning, Baruti. Hey, Anissa. Good morning, Red Jack. No? Okay, I didn't think so. So, and so he put this one up at 9:23 this morning. So y'all know when he is on a Twitter or a Truth Social rant, things never go well, right? Good morning, Eric. So next, let's see what else he has to say this morning. Virginia, vote no. Virginia, vote yes. Vote yes, Virginia, all damn day long. That's your assignment today. Vote yes, Virginia. 10 hours ago, he said Operation Midnight Hammer was a complete and total obliteration of the nuclear dust sites in Iran. Therefore, digging it out will be a long and difficult process. Fake news CNN and other corrupt media networks and platforms fail to give our great aviators the credit they deserve. Always trying to demean and belittle losers in all caps. Wait, I just want to say it in that voice again. Look, type it in all caps with 3 exclamation points. Losers. The president of the United States talks like that. Losers. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't in his office like this. Losers. Who the fuck does that? And you're the leader of the free world. Like, I'm sorry, when I read it, that's how I read it. I read it because it's literally in all caps with 3 exclamation points at the end. Losers. What the fuck, bro? You suck. It's wild to me. Wild to me. I'm looking for anything else that I really want to address right now in this moment. I don't. He's still stuck on Joe Biden. He's still stuck on whatever. And I wish somebody would tell him, stop taking a damn picture like this. You look like you're 4. You know when you teach a toddler to say cheese? Cheese. Do I have it right, Mom? Cheese. That's what he looks like. Stop it, bro. I'm just like literally Mila does that. She just turned 5. And yesterday, I'm day before yesterday, I cooked dinner and she said, Tutu, tastes good. And I thought, that's the president of the United States. There's there. That's him. Oh, my sweet baby Jesus. So anyway, yeah, 100% man child. 100%. It's just really, really, really wild. What I don't know. And so I don't know if everyone gets this because like I chuckle, but it's so fucking not funny. It's so not funny that this is literally the representative of the country, which by the way, that was something that the Israeli dude and I talked about yesterday. So Shimmy, I am so glad you're in here. So let me tell you what happened, Shimmy. So what's Hamza's last name, you guys, so that I can Sadah, that's his name. Hamza Sadah, that's his name. Okay. So, right, Scotty, this is the damn POTUS. So I'm gonna go ahead and I want to share with you all so I can mark this one off my list first. Okay. So yeah, so let's go ahead. Don't spam my comments. C 117. Don't spam the comments, which means don't say the same thing over and over again. You're free to express yourself, right? But just not spamming in the comments. Okay? Those are the guidelines in this space. Okay? Okay, so do you just want to be blocked? Because, I mean, we can make that happen. Yeah. You know, sometimes, y'all, I don't know if it's a bot or if it's just real people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes they look like bots and they're real people, which I don't know what that says about us, but when you can't distinguish the bots from real people, it's scary. But we are living in an age that is absolutely wild to me. The fact that we cannot tell. Like you can see the most outlandish things. Oh, thanks, Mima. You can see the most outlandish things that are out there that they say the president said. And what's crazy is if you don't go check, like you literally think it's a possibility that he said it. Like there's no holds barred at this point, right? It is possible that the president of the United States said fucking just about anything. Right. The fact that we have bots is wild. 100%. Good morning, Brian. So I don't know why my TikTok screen looks so dark, but it does. Does it not? Does it look dark to y'all or is it just me? I turned my phone up a little bit, but anyway, it's wild to me. All right. So let's just take a look at where we are real quick. Well, right, Paul. Yeah, no. So, in case you don't know, people are free to say whatever they like. So, yes, let me be clear, Paul, and I hope that you're listening. Iran can absolutely be in their country and they can chant death to America for 1100 years, and that is perfectly fine because they have the right to say whatever the fuck they want to say in their country. Yes, that's the way free speech works. That's the way it works, bro. Yes, they can. You don't get to go to war with everybody that says they hate you. If that's the case, the United States of America would be at war 24/7. Oh, that's hilarious. Right, chasing the sunset, 100%. Yeah. Well, what we do here, that's the point. That's the point. We have free speech here. In Iran, they're perfectly fine with people chanting death to America. So, but you get it, Paul, they're saying what their government agrees with. But we have free speech. Right? You understand? Y'all act like y'all don't understand how it works. Well, that's true, Peto. That's true. All right. So anyway, so let's just kind of finish things off for a moment. So Iranian officials prepare for possible attacks if they do not, quote unquote, surrender. I'm just looking for anything else, like really, really quickly. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's just too early right now to anticipate anything other than, but here's what I will say is Iran is not going to surrender. Like that's not gonna happen. And they're not gonna go under siege to Pakistan. That's not what's going to happen. So yesterday, Iran's Speaker of the Parliament said those exact things on X. He said that they're not going to surrender to, they're not going to surrender. They're not going under siege to Pakistan. And they also said they have spent the last 2 weeks preparing a lot of surprises, right? And so I am really, I don't even know what to say about that when I saw that it was talking. Well, so this is the thing. They have asked today, they have asked for them to release the people on that ship. And I'm serious. So that's what they said yesterday, was that they had spent the last 2 weeks preparing and they literally said preparing surprises. They have surprises. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. I wouldn't even hazard a guess. What I know is that it won't be good. I do know, hold on. I got to remember which country it is. I think it is the, give me a second. Yeah, that is what I saw yesterday. So this is really important. So prominent Emirati political analyst Abdullah, I can't say his name, it's that sound that I can't do, Halek Abdullah, stated that, listen to this, they stated yesterday that the United Arab Emirates no longer requires U.S. military protection, and that in fact, it has become a liability for them. Hey, PK, I think that this is something that was talked about early on, right? When Iran was so successful hitting targets in the Gulf Coast, right? You got to remember that Iran very successfully hit 13 to 17 of our military bases throughout the Gulf Coast. And they did significant damage. Many of our bases over there are completely uninhabitable, right? That's why we have soldiers that are staying in hotels. And what's really wild is, so this was part of the conversation that was happening at the time, was how long before these Gulf Coast states now say it's not worth this, it's not worth it for us to have a military base here because it makes us a target versus them defending us. And so that was something, if what I just said is true. Yeah, are you talking about from the UAE? Yeah, it was one of their political analysts that said it yesterday. Hold on a second, I'll show you. UAE leader says no longer needs. Yep, there we go. Defense from the US. Yeah, they literally said, quote, it's a burden, not an asset. And so he's a professor and a political analyst in the UAE, and that's what he said yesterday. 100%. You probably won't see that in Western news, right? But I see it in China's news. I see it in India's news. I see it in the Middle East news. Yeah, so I see it in lots of other places. And it's even on Yahoo, but it's not Western mainstream media isn't carrying it for sure. But no, he absolutely said it. And he told Reuters. So I'm gonna quote this article. Quote, this is what I told Reuters today. The UAE no longer needs America to defend it, as it has proven during the Iranian aggression that it is capable of defending itself with distinction. And Abdullah is a former advisor to the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. And he said it in a statement. Ooh, is this linked to the whole statement? Y'all know I love a link to the full statement. I love a link to the full statement, y'all. I love a link. Show translation. Oh, why aren't you able to show me the damn? It's written in Arabic, so I can't read it. And it says unable to fetch translation because X doesn't want it translated. That's the first time X has never translated Arabic for me. First time. But then he goes on to say, quote, what the UAE needs is to acquire only the best and latest of weapons that America has. Therefore, it is time to think about closing the American bases as they are a burden and not a strategic asset. Woof. That's rough, y'all. That's rough. So, right, Sam. Yeah, the UAE. So listen, I want to be clear. Okay, listen, this is a political analyst for the UAE who used to be an advisor to the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. Yeah. It is not a great place that we are in, folks. And for people who just keep wanting to say the United States of America is da 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 and great, listen, folks, if you all do not understand, keep walking around like you're invincible and you're not. Well, so Edwin, that's interesting. Why do you think we don't need bases in the Middle East? What do you think happens if the United States of America is no longer needed to help provide defense in the Gulf Coast? I'm just curious. What do you think happens? What do you think happens if the United States of America is no longer needed in the Gulf Coast to provide defense and they close our bases there? Right, Blue Honey Pot. China will step right on in and fill that gap. Yep. And the bases are a power projection. The only thing that has been the biggest thing that we have had is besides our location and distance is is other countries needing our defense, right? If they do not need our defense, right? And the world can defend themselves. Someone tell me what we offer the rest of the world in terms of our exports versus our imports. Because we are no longer the manufacturing queen that we were in the 60s and 70s. We're no longer that. We became, because of Reagan, we became a service industry. We became a service country, right? Most of the jobs around are service jobs, right? And we're a consumer nation, 100%. And the other thing is that the things that we do export, we are reliant upon other countries for the critical minerals or the key components for the things that we sell to other people. I don't think that people really understand the majority of the things that we make that we sell to other people, like our defense weapons, right? We rely on China because the rare minerals that are out there. Do y'all know that all rare mineral product, like the manufacturing of them, the production of them, 70% of it is from all over the world is done in China. 70% of it is done in China. only one shot. Do me a favor and just don't type in all caps, please. I reserve it for my moderators and my folks that are vision impaired. So, Robin, I see you have a lot to say in the chat. Would you like to come on the panel and have a conversation? I would love for you to join the panel, and that way you can kind of, make the conversation more robust. Good morning, Sin. So, let me ask you all this, and I know that my regular followers are, hey, Grandma Rocks. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. So listen, folks, let me ask this question. Besides, hey, Lynn, besides my folks that are here with me all the time, how many of you all are familiar with the GAO? How many of you all are familiar with the GAO? Okay, so the GAO is the Government Accountability Office. All right. So if you all were with me, many of you all remember me going over some of the GAO reports from executive orders that were done regarding Schedule F and those types of things. So the GAO actually did a report on our vulnerability because we rely on China so heavily for our key components for our military weapons. Give me a second and I'll pull it up. Barudi, let me ask you. I think I remember who you are, but just give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and pull you up on the panel. I think I remember. It's been a few days. Hello, how are you, friend?
Greetings, Queen. How are you?
Yeah, that's who I thought it was. I am doing great. So I'm trying to kind of give everybody an idea because I don't think that people fully understand how heavily reliant the world is on China's ability to manufacture. And it's not just having the rare minerals, but it's the actual production and what they do to make them ready for things. 70% of that is done in China for the whole world. And 90% of our key components and the minerals that go into our antibiotics come from there as well. And I don't think that people actually realize how heavily dependent the United States is on things that we get from other countries, including China. Let me see. China vulnerability. Defense. It's a damn shame it came right up. All right, folks. Let's kind of talk about it. All right, so I'm going to show you guys this. This is a GAO, which is the Government Accountability Office report. It came out in July of 2025. So this is just about like 9 months ago. So let me show you. I'm going to share it with you guys over here first. And then I'm going to share it with you guys over here. Robin, you still haven't made your way to the panel. Would you like to come up, Robin? I would love for you to. All right. So for you guys over here, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Hey. Oh, she said be right back. Okay. Maybe she went to get like some reinforcements or something. Okay. So this is the report from the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, and you will see that it came out just last year. And it's actions needed to address risks posed by dependence on foreign suppliers. Okay. This is the thing, and it's really important, folks. If you don't know, you can go here and you can download the full report, but here are the fast facts. The Department of Defense relies on a global network of over 200,000 suppliers to produce weapons, as well as non-combat goods like batteries and manufacturing equipment. DoD sees certain foreign suppliers as a national security risk because, for example, they could cut off access to critical materials. The DoD has made progress gathering supplier information and improving supply chain transparency. However, its efforts are uncoordinated and have provided little insight into the vast majority of suppliers. We made 3 recommendations to help the DoD address this challenge. And so they go on, and they talk about what we found. So DoD estimates that over 200,000 suppliers help produce advanced weapon systems and non-combat goods. The primary procurement database for the federal government, however, provides little visibility into where these goods are manufactured and whether materials and part suppliers are domestic or foreign. So like when you're in the database, you can't see it, right? Which is not great. It's not great. And this talks about why they did this study and what the impact is, right? There's another one that came before this. Hold on. See this? U.S.-China relations. U.S. defense industry vulnerable to China. This came out 1 month after the other report did. So I just want you all to understand that it is an issue. Look, over 99 materials total identified by DoD in shortfall for fiscal year 2023. None were made in the U.S. None of them were made here. The result is many components used in key weapon systems and military equipment are being manufactured by China. Good morning, Jay Owen. So tell me again, where's Robin? Come on, y'all. Did Robin leave? Go ahead, Baruti. You wanted to chime in real quick?
Just that the importance of the GAO as far as regulatory compliance is so very important for us as a nation. And the current head of the GAO is Oris Williams Brown and has been there since December of 2025.
Yeah. So for folks that don't get it, I'm trying to make this smaller so everybody can see. So y'all know the famous F-35 that just got shot down? So manufacturing of that was brought to a standstill due to the discovery of Chinese components during production. So Lockheed Martin identified prohibited Chinese magnets in the F-13 supply chain. So we looked at another report, if you guys remember this, a couple of weeks ago, where we have been purchasing things from Chinese suppliers that are on a list that is barred for us to purchase from them because they are a security risk. And so there was a big GAO report on this as well. So, when I talk to you all and I tell you that we are not as secure as people would like to dream that we are, and this false bravado that seems to exist in the country is not serving our best interests, right? If you have feedback, you probably want to leave and come back in.
So the manufacture of that jet, prior to the assembling of it, there had to have been some type of compliance report. And on that compliance report should have indicated that that part should not go in. And if it did, 2 issues. One, whoever missed it is incompetent or negligent. And the other, if it was not on the compliance report, whoever put it together, that person incompetent or negligent.
Yes, 100%. And this is the thing that people don't get. So I'm looking at 2 or 3 other reports. So listen, folks, if you guys want to look up this stuff for yourself, just type in purchases from banned countries, GAO, and you will get 3 or 4 different reports, 3 or 4 different, I can't turn his mic up, Pat Cole. He's already turned up for me. You might need to turn your volume up. Or maybe he just needs to get kind of closer to the mic or whatever. But it's really important that people understand that we are not this massive, we are really reliant on other countries for much of what we need in this country. And that is not good for us. It's not good. And here's the other piece of it. The corporations that we continue to cater to, the corporations that we give zero tax to and do all that shit for, and we keep giving them money. They're the ones that keep putting the jobs overseas. They don't want to spend the money to build the manufacturing facilities here in the country. They don't want the expense. They would rather send it to China, send it to India, send it to other places where it can be done at a lower cost. So here we are catering to corporations that are literally putting us in a horrible position. You know what I mean? And some of y'all act like you don't know that or like it doesn't make sense. And so I guess my question for you would be, if you feel like you have to combat what I just said, if you feel like you have to push back against what I just said, I would ask you, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like you have to continue to justify things that don't make sense and that hurt the American people? Help me understand. Because at some point in time, you should be able to say, you know what? This is no longer serving me. So I need to choose something different. Why aren't we doing that? Right? So, Dani 5, let me tell you one of the reasons I don't like to do the whole like, oh, Trump's just crazy or Trump's just got dementia. Or the reason I don't like to do those things is because it minimizes the seriousness of what's actually going on. It minimizes just how significant it is that these are the types of things that we are saying about the president of the United States. And not only that, right? Not only that, we do not have the experienced leadership that we did have in the first administration that could kind of keep him on track. You follow me? We no longer have the experience of the folks that were in, you know, that first cabinet. We don't have a General Milley, and we don't have any of those people to push back. And we certainly don't have Eric, even though he's not a great person, right? People don't seem to understand that we don't have that. So we don't have the expertise of leadership to fall back on. So this is one of the things that I was talking about with Joe Biden, right? When everybody was saying Joe Biden, you know, he's losing it, he's not all the way up to par. And here's my thing. I could rely very heavily on the folks that were around him to know that the critical decision making was still happening at a fantastic level, right? Great legislation, great programs were being put through. All of those things were happening, you know? And so for me, it's not just about one person and their mindset or their ability. It's about the entire cabinet, right? And we had a competent cabinet under the Biden administration. We do not have a competent cabinet today. Right. He was surrounded by the right people. Go ahead, Baruti.
Yeah, so it reminds me of when we look at our Constitution with the three branches. Article 1, legislative body making the laws, Article 2, executive enforcing, and Article 3, interpreting. The founding fathers put together the government so that there be checks and balances. Therefore, the president, as chief commander and chief of staff, literally running the country, if you will, should assemble a cabinet that is a check on him, not sycophants or those who basically would agree with everything he says. You have to surround yourself with experts and not be in the room saying, I'm the smartest person in the room, because at some point it's going to be revealed that you're not, and you're going to need someone to step up and say, sir, with all due respect, we cannot do A, B, and C because of D, E, F. He doesn't have that. Nope. And as a result, we are vulnerable as a nation.
Correct. And even his own chief of staff, Susie, said that. She literally said he believes he can do anything, that there are no limitations, and there's no one that pushes back and tells him any different. Like, he doesn't live in reality, and that is so dangerous. How do we have a president that doesn't actually live in the same reality that you and I do, that the rest of the world does? Like, so I was in another live the other day, and these guys they just refused to accept and understand what I was saying. So they asked who was responsible for determining if there was an imminent threat. And I said, our intelligence community, right? And he said, no, you're wrong. It's the president. And I said, no, actually, it's not the president. The president doesn't determine if there is an imminent threat. The president determines if what the intelligence community tells him is something that he wants to take action on or he doesn't, right? So there's a difference between determining do we take an action and do we not, and you being the sole determinant factor of if something is an imminent threat or not, right? So there's a reason that we have 19 different departments in this country that make up our intelligence community. It is so that we can bring the best information and the right information to the president and to the office of the president. And that's the one thing that I wish that people would understand. You do not serve, it's not about serving at the pleasure of a man. It's about serving at the pleasure of the office of the president. And I feel like the office of the president has become so devalued and so diminished in what it is supposed to be. It might as well be like another fucking reality TV show, you know? And that's really dangerous for us. Hello, Noor. And so I think that people, what I would love to see is for people to start using language that is appropriate for the situation, right? Well, but Chu, here's my thing. I think that the American people made it like that too. The American people and the media, to be honest, I would even put more responsibility on the media than anybody else, because the media has now created a situation where they've normalized his behavior. There's no standard anymore. There's no standard and there's no accountability. You know what I'm saying? And I put that on the media because they are supposed to be for the people. You came off mute, so I assumed you wanted to say something.
You know, the administration of his office is the hypocrisy, is a threat to national security.
Yeah, 100%. And that's I said this the other day, last week. It was when he put up the whole Jesus picture, right? Hey, Abu Siraj. When he put up the whole Jesus picture, I stopped for a second and I literally pulled up from the intelligence department, like where you actually go if you are looking for a job for intelligence, and the criteria that they say that you must have, right? And we went through them. And I said, do you all understand that the president of the United States in and of himself is a national security risk? Either way you think about it, whether he thinks he's close to Jesus or whether he thought that was a picture of a doctor, no matter which one of those you choose, there's something fucking wrong. There is something wrong. And that is a national security risk. The way that he is transactional is a national security risk. The United States of America, the president of the United States of America is not supposed to be a transactional individual, because even if a transaction in that moment benefits you, it's about what does it do to the entire country? What does it do to the geopolitics and the world as a whole? And he is not equipped for those types of conversations and responsibility. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Samo, here's my thing. To give the appearance of choice, but both lead to the problem. So Mookie, let me just be clear. Okay. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and I say this all the time, when it comes to foreign policy, are pretty much the same, right? Overall, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, when it comes to foreign policy, there's not much difference there. But when it comes to domestic issues, they are very different. Neither of them perfect, right? and Democrats definitely not where the majority of Americans want them to be, but they are not like the Republican Party. That's for sure. So, hey, mods, can we check with the people that are in the request box and just see if people meant to request up or not? Go ahead, Baruti.
So here's an analogy I have. So if someone applies to build a bridge and we give them the job to build that bridge and that bridge collapses and thousands of people are unalive, what in our right mind would think we would want to give him a second opportunity to build another bridge?
Yeah.
And I look at my Gulf Stream.
Yeah. It is 100%. People cannot name what he actually does. I've asked people about policy and people can't talk to me about policy. People don't even know. So do you know what's so crazy? There was another GAO report about immigration. Do you all know that until December of 2024, the United States government did not have a system in place to track whether or not immigrants showed up at their hearings? We weren't even tracking it until December of 2024.
So I spent 10 years in compliance in education with 2 regulatory bodies out of DC. And one thing that I do know for sure, if you don't have checks and balances systems in place for compliance, stuff like that happens on a regular. And when we would go out and conduct audits at the schools, one of the things that we would tell the schools that were not in compliance and were in possibly going to lose their accreditation, losing Title IV funding, inability to provide grants and scholarships for students, literally closing the door. If it was not written down, it didn't happen. And so with respect to that, if you don't have a system in place where there is compliance to make sure that you are meeting the expectations and requirements, in this case, the school to function properly, and in our case, the government to function properly, then that's a problem. Either the person that was supposed to do it was incompetent or negligent, or the person that was supervising or checking and that should have checked that person incompetent or negligent and totally complicit. And then it reeks almost of conspiracy, but not conspiracy theory, conspiracy, the law of conspiracy. And I land my Gulf Stream.
100%. So let me give you guys this. So I'm looking at another GAO report, and I'm just going to read the fast facts. You guys ready? The Department of Justice's, by the way, this is dated December 19th, 2024. You ready? Here it goes. The Department of Justice's executive office for immigration review holds immigration hearings to determine whether non-citizens will be removed from the country. As of July 2024, there's a backlog of about 3.5 million cases, pending cases. Non-citizens are expected to attend their hearings. Failing to show up could result in removal from the U.S. unless a judge waives their appearance. But the office's case management system doesn't collect data systematically that shows whether someone appeared at hearings or whether a judge issued a waiver. So if you're not collecting systematically to know whether someone attended or they didn't, or whether they got a waiver, how accurate is your information? It's not. And this is my thing. When we talk about immigration, the general public doesn't understand exactly what is happening and why it's happening, and what the systems or what the laws are, and how they actually need to be implemented. And if you want my opinion about this, real talk, I believe that no one was really concerned about tracking it because unauthorized immigrants don't commit very many violent crimes. They add a shit ton in terms of labor in this country, money into our benefit systems, taxes, and all those types of things. So they didn't care. Because I can tell you, if these people were as violent as the current president would want you to believe, we would have been tracking them. But we don't. Why? Because they're not a threat to the vast majority of this country. And the country benefits economically from their presence, no matter what people would like for you to think. All right, so Mookie, I think this is the first time I've ever had you on my panel. Are you familiar with kind of what we do here in terms of just being respectful, no slurs, that sort of stuff?
Yes, ma'am, I certainly am.
Okay, awesome. What would you like to say?
First of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate the open dialogue approach that you're taking. That's awesome, and
Sure.
I encourage it fully. Secondly, for the checks and balances, his craziness, for lack of a better term, is actually proving the system of checks and balances does work, with the Supreme Court negating a lot of his I forget the name of it, but his presidential decrees. So
his executive orders?
Yes, thank you. His executive orders are being deemed unconstitutional almost as quickly as they're coming to paper. So not all of them are, which is true. So the system of checks and balances is in place, and it does in fact work. Otherwise, we would be in a much worse position than we are. So to say that the checks and balances aren't in place, I think, is a horrible understatement. To the person that was saying before that they had family members that had passed due to his response in COVID, let's not forget that Project Warp Speed, which is what initiated the jab out to the masses, was under the Trump administration. So he says one thing and does another, and that's my biggest grievance. Is he is full of himself as a person. I don't think I'd like him, and I can tell you for damn sure I don't respect him. But as a president, he is bringing a lot of problems that we as a group are facing with, like you said, the right wing and the left wing both help the same bird fly. So that's kind of my thing, is he is, whether inadvertently or intentionally, bringing the problems that are now coming to light. He is doing a huge service to the American people by showing that someone who is as belligerent and void of reality can be elected, that there do need to be tougher laws as far as cognizance and mental capabilities. I did vote for him 3 times. I don't regret my decision by and large. There are certain things I don't agree with. But I do agree 100% with you on the immigration. Having that many people is horrible, because there are people who, by the time their work visa expires or student visa expires, they haven't been able to get into court. And we are missing out on a lot of people coming to our country that could make it vastly more beneficial to live here. So the immigration does need a huge revamping. What I don't agree with is people who come here illegally. If it's a financial standpoint, then we should actually encourage, drug cartels and things like that, because they do get a lot of money. If they were localized, they'd be spending it here instead of sending it back to their home country. So perhaps that's an option. The drawback of that is the associated violence with it. So there's not an easy answer. And to look at one side and say they're the problem without being able to look at your own beliefs and say, well, maybe I was incorrect, I think is a lot of problems that Americans have, is they've become so entrenched with the side winning instead of learning what the truth actually is.
Okay, so here's what I would say is that to say that someone's abuse of power is a blessing because it shows us our vulnerabilities, instead of saying that people that are in office should be people that wouldn't exploit them, is crazy, right? I'm going to mute you just because there's feedback. So I think that excuse that people give, as, oh, well, he's exposing all of these things. Um, these things were already known, right? It's just that the presidents that we had before, as imperfect as all of them have been, all of them knew the lines, and they just simply, I got to mute you because there's feedback. So please don't unmute because there's feedback. All right. So the presidents before, Republican and Democratic, they just simply had enough integrity to not cross those lines. Right. So I'm not grateful to someone for causing harm, even if you think they need to be fixed. I would have much rather he shown the vulnerabilities and got to the business of fixing them rather than using them to cause harm, right? You don't have to cause harm just to show the vulnerabilities, right? You don't have to do that. So when I look at this administration, so if we just talk about, let's talk about immigration specifically. During his first administration, are you aware that President Trump changed the performance plan for immigration judges, and that under this current administration, they terminated a good portion of immigration judges in 2025? Are you aware of those two separate things that were done? A change in performance plan for immigration judges in the first administration, and then the removal of immigration judges in 2025. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So when he changed the performance plan in the first administration, one of the most immediate things that happened is we lost 45 immigration judges, right? When Trump took office in the first administration, I think we had 542,000, I'm rounding. We had about 542,000 immigration cases that were backlogged when he took office for the first administration. By the time he left office, that number was almost 1.3 million, right? In my opinion, the same way that he intentionally tanked the Lankford bill in 2024 so that he could run on immigration is why he did a lot of things in his administration to leave it bad for the next person coming in. And I have an issue with that because the job is to take care of the American people, not to make yourself feel good, not to be your legacy, but to take care of the American people. And he does not do that. Right. And so when we talk about checks and balances, that's the other thing that I wanted to speak on, is there are three but separate equal branches of government. Right. And so what I have found is that the court system has found many of his executive orders unconstitutional. However, many of the appellate judges that the Federalist Society helped put into office and things like that overturned those initial judgments that put stays on some of his executive orders, it made the process for getting there so much longer. And in the meantime, so much damage is being done because court systems are slow. Right. So I would have much preferred a president that would not do an unconstitutional executive order to start with. Right. That would have been great for the very first thing, right? Just don't write an unconstitutional executive order. That would have been amazing, right? The other part that I have is that we do not have a Congress right now that is separate but equal. We do not have a Congress right now that uses its power of the purse. We don't have a Congress right now that uses its power to rein in the administration. We don't have a Congress right now that is doing anything. We have one party in Congress that is doing the bidding of the president. And so our checks and balances aren't working, not the way that they were intended to. And so for me, here's what I know about law. Law will never, ever be able to determine somebody else's morality or somebody else's values. You can't legislate people's values, right? And so I know that no matter how many laws you pass, if someone is that kind of person who would exploit that for their own benefit, then the idea is that our Congress should not bring them in, right? Our Congress should not be backing them and supporting them. And that's the problem that I have right now, right? It doesn't matter what our Constitution says or doesn't say. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, because at the end of the day, just because something is legal doesn't mean it's right, and just because something isn't right doesn't mean it's legal. And so that's the problem that I have in this scenario. For example, in Georgia passed a law that said you cannot bring people who are waiting in line to vote. You can't bring them water. That's a law, but it's not right. It's not something that we should ever do. Why would we legislate and say we can't bring people water and food when they are standing in line to exercise their constitutional right? Right? To exercise their right to vote. Why would we do that? And so that's one of the examples that I have of laws that aren't right, but they are on the books. And so that's the point that I'm making. What we have right now is an immoral leader, right? The office of the presidency is compromised. It just is. And if we had a president that intended to do well by the country, we would not have had 100 executive orders and have 70% of them be unconstitutional. Sure, Mookie, you can go ahead and respond.
So your points are all very valid, and I don't dispute any one of them, especially the last with the voting. I think the exact opposite should be encouraged, where we encourage people to be out there. And if it is hot and humid and it is uncomfortable, we make it as comfortable as possible so that their voice can be heard. I know one vote isn't going to change anything, but everyone should have the right to speak their piece.
You can say that. Let me just tell you this. One vote can change things. So I have done election data for the last 2 years and change. I literally have seen races that come down to one vote, that come down to 2 votes in different counties and things like that. So it is critical for people to understand that every single vote does matter, and every single vote can change outcomes. And so maybe not from a presidential perspective, but definitely in every other way. And so like my personal belief is if we are going to systematically automate selective service enrollment, then we should systematically automate voter registration.
And yes and no with that. So I'm not a fan of the left or the right as a wholesale ideology. I don't think that any individual given power is going to be 100% for the people. That unfortunately is abundantly clear with some of the Democratic Party getting richer beyond their annual income through trading and things like that, and manipulation of the stock market.
And you can say that also about the current administration.
100%, that humans are the problem. The ideology on paper, as if you've ever worked in any corporate job, ideas on paper work wonderfully, but the real world application, unfortunately, is fallible because of humans.
So why would you not support systematically enrollment for voter registration? I mean, for voter registration, why would we not want that? If we want it, and if we're able to implement it when people turn 18, right? Automatic enrollment, systematically done for selective service. Why can't we do it for voter registration, and why shouldn't we do it for voter registration?
Well, going back to your morality question, is doing it for selective service morally just? Because forcing anyone into anything, I think, is wrong.
So they're not forced into it. They're registered, right? Which they're required to do now, right? So they are required to register for selective service unless people get waivers, right? But when someone registers to vote, we don't force them to vote, right? So that begs the question of why wouldn't we want automatic voter registration?
Personal opinion, that's putting too much faith in a system with too many questionable variables of good and evil. You had mentioned earlier about, I don't recall the reference. I apologize. There's been a lot of discussion. It was something along the lines of, being blessed for having these issues brought to light in this manner. Ideally, that's a wonderful thing. But if that was the case throughout history, as a quasi-religious person, one of the defining characteristics and actions that Jesus took was overturning the money-changing tables. If they fixed it themselves, that wouldn't be something that can be used as an example of when to stand up for what's right and what you believe in. So we would have lost a very large moral lesson from a religious standpoint. So sometimes that has to happen for people to realize that good is an option. And if you look at, as a recovering addict, I didn't know how good life could be until I saw how bad it was. That's a personal tale.
Right.
So
But here's what I would say, Mookie, but not everybody needs bad to happen. And here's what we know is just because bad helps people see good doesn't mean that you have to choose to create the bad, right? So we don't have to choose to penalize people and choose to harm people in hopes that they'll appreciate whatever we give them later, right? Like that's just not a thing for me, right? I don't so I'll give you just a really like extreme example, right? But what I don't do is I don't not feed my grandchildren for 2 days so that they will appreciate food when I give it to them, right? Like I don't need to do that for them to be able to appreciate food. You know what I mean? And so I think that that is some of the stuff that we are talking about. This administration went to court to not feed people. I just really want everyone to sit with that for a minute. The President of the United States went to court so that he could not feed people. Who does that? Who does that? And why would we ever want someone who would be willing to do that? This idea that people need to be treated bad in order to do good isn't true. We don't do that with our animals. Right? When we take our puppies to PetSmart and we get our animals trained, what do? We know that positive reinforcement is what generates good behavior. That's what we do with animals. Why are we so hell-bent on being cruel to human beings?
Because the system as it was working prior to either Trump administration obviously wasn't working for the majority of people.
What do you mean?
So if the previous way that the system was working was in fact a better option, he wouldn't have failed, or he wouldn't have succeeded, but rather failed on all three of his attempts instead of just one.
You can't say that. And I'll tell you, and I'll share with you why you can't say that. Okay. So voting isn't just about if the system's working or it's not working. Unfortunately, that's not what voting is about. And if people are being honest about that, they'll admit that voting depends on a lot of other things. And so I'll tell you something about the United States of America. It's not interested in having a high voter turnout and letting people actually express themselves. If it was, we would have the day off for elections, right? We would absolutely have that as part of what we do, right? We had in 2024, and this is something that people really need to sit with. The people who more people chose to not participate at all. People that were registered to vote, more people that were registered to vote chose not to vote at all than voted for Trump or Kamala Harris. 77 million people voted for him, 75.5 million people voted for her, and 80 million people plus didn't vote at all that were registered to vote. So what that is a sign is, it's not a sign that the system needed him. That was a sign that none of this shit is feeling good. And we've had 10 solid years of hyper political rhetoric that has gotten more intense, more violent, more divisive, more angry over the last 10 years. And in the middle of that 10 years, we had a global pandemic. And here's what's crazy is, as much as you can talk about warp speed happening, that's great. But that would have been great if he hadn't politicized the damn COVID to start with. So if I give the go ahead and I make a vaccine that can actually help save people's lives, but I tell everybody to use a damn horse medicine or bleach instead, and I make it seem as if this is a left and right thing, it doesn't matter that I did the medication, because I have then in turn politicized it to a degree that many people who need it aren't going to get it. That's a problem in itself. What good does it do for me to make something that's good for people if I tell people you don't need it and it's actually bad for you and this is a demonized Democrat thing?
So to answer that question first, I believe Vice President Harris said that she would never, ever inject or condone something that was put through by the Trump administration.
I'm not talking about Kamala Harris. I am talking specifically about the actions of the President of the United States. I don't care whether Kamala Harris is going to put something in her body or not. She's not relevant to the conversation. I'm specifically talking about the fact that we had a global pandemic where millions of people were unaliving. And we had a president that chose to politicize something that, and still does to this day, right? So the question that I have is, why would you want a leader that politicizes health?
So it's why I actually brought up Vice President Harris. Was she was doing the exact same thing?
No, she was not even in office at that time. And by the way, and let me just say this. So hold on, Mookie, because you're still bringing her up and that bothers me because she's not relevant. She did not hold press conferences and tell people don't get it. That is not what occurred. That's not what occurred. He did. And they went on talk shows and podcasts and all the things talking about it. That is not something that she did. She didn't stand up there and tell people to inject bleach. By the way, I have my concerns about what that administration would do anyway. And that's why out of the three, I chose one that the government wasn't part of. There were three different choices. Okay, there were three different choices. Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and then Pfizer. Moderna and Johnson & Johnson they did theirs in combination with the government. Pfizer did not. I took Pfizer. But the point that I'm asking you is, why did the leader of the country, this is the reason why it's relevant, Mookie, because you brought it up. You brought it up and said, you got to remember that he's the guy that brought you warp speed. He's the guy that brought you the jab. So my direct response to that is, okay, he brought it to me, but he politicized the pandemic. He told people in October it was going away. He told people it was going away when it was nowhere close to going away. As a matter of fact, it was accelerating. So my question to you is, you want to give him credit for warp speed, then I want you to explain to me his other behavior and the politicization of the whole pandemic as a whole.
So I can't justify what he did. As I said before, as a person, I guarantee you I wouldn't get along with him because of his bravado. As a president, are there things that can be done better? 100%. But to demonize him as a complete failure, there are good and bad in every human, especially with a president being in the central spotlight. To say that there hasn't been an offsetting of good from his presidencies.
So give me the offsetting good.
So the offsetting good,
Yep.
I said it before, is the realization that someone of his mental status can be elected.
Nope. I'm talking about things that were good for people. Things that he did that was good for people's lives. Not something that's your opinion. But I'm asking you specifically, what good? So tell me a good thing he did that saved people's lives. Because we just talked about a bad thing that he did that cost people their lives. So tell me a good thing that he did that saved people's lives.
So insulin, that was something that after he had left office the first time, had actually gone up, and then it's stayed up. He's done nothing to bring it down. But while he was in office the first time, it did drop. You can go to a major retailer at a pharmacy and get it for $20.
So I think you might have gotten a call. That was actually done under the Biden administration. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was muted for a second. What was you saying? I apologize.
But the insulin reduction came under the Biden administration.
No, the insulin actually went up by $3 a bottle.
No, insulin in 2022. There was a $35 insulin copay cap in Medicare, and that was done under the Biden administration.
I'm talking without any medical coverage.
So the president of the United States doesn't tell Big Pharma what to charge.
I understand that.
Right.
However, with bringing foreign competitors into the market, it did. So if you look at, let's just say, BD or Eli Lilly, the reason that their drug prices are so much cheaper in other countries than they are here stateside is because of the foreign competition.
It's not. And I'm telling you, I'm literally looking at, so are you familiar with KFF?
No.
Okay, so that is the KFF Health News is a national publication that all they do is report on healthcare. Like I've collaborated with them on 5 different articles. Okay. So literally it was pressure from the Biden administration, and they actually said that made Eli Lilly, Sanofi, and Novo and Nordisk reduce their own prices. And they literally said that. So I think it's really important that we don't get confused, and we don't need to bring in foreign competition to the pharmaceutical industry because it already exists to a great degree. That's one of our greatest vulnerabilities right now is the fact that we have critical components, key components for not only our defense manufacturing, but also for our medication that comes from foreign countries, a great deal of it from China. So my question again would be, name for me a policy, name for me something that Trump did that saved people's lives. Right. He does want to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, and he has no replacement. I know he's muted. He knows he's muted.
Apologize. I actually didn't know I was muted. So, hot take, and I know there's going to be quite a bit of disagreement with this, but the decentralization of power with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, giving the power back to the states. Well,
that's nothing that he did. So that's a Supreme Court case. So he didn't bring that case before the court, and he didn't have anything to do with what the court did.
Okay, so then going back to your previous statement that these drug prices were reduced under the Biden administration, Biden didn't directly do that. His administration did, which
Your administration is part of you. The Supreme Court's not part of an administration.
No, I understand that.
Right.
However,
So if you're the president and you put forward policy, the whole point is for you to have an administration that gets it implemented. And that's why it actually says Biden administration record, because it's the entire administration under that president. And it's that way for everyone. So the same way that I can point to things that were done under the Biden administration that's helped save people's lives, I'm asking you to point to things that were done under the Trump administration that saved people's lives, because we already know of some of the things that he did that cost lives, literally. I'm asking for one that saved lives.
then we'll go back to Project Warp Speed.
Except he
Even though
negated
he
that. Except he negated that. He doesn't get to take credit because he also cost lives at the same time.
But you asked for something that saved
But
lives.
we said outside of that. We literally just said outside of that, because he doesn't get credit because he doesn't get credit for saying, yes, we're going to do warp speed, and then give him, and then not make him accountable for politicizing a global pandemic, politicizing wearing masks, politicizing social distancing. Like, we're not going to do that. I mean, he literally has. So what's so wild to me is the head of the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare currently, right now, said that if we put children back into school during the global pandemic, that only about 1% to 2% of those children would die. And that was an appetizing option to get the economy back open. And that's who this president, the guy that you voted for, thought was a good person to put over the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare. That's what Dr. Oz said. He said it was an appetizing idea to get the country open again and get our kids back in school.
So you would prefer that these small businesses that were shutting down and families losing their income be an appetizing option?
So you act as if those two things go together.
They
don't have anything to do with each other. They don't have anything to do with each other. We can protect children and help small businesses at the same time. So here's what if we had not capitulated to large ass corporations and gave PPP loans to people that didn't need them, right? Then we could have invested that money into small businesses, 100%. We have the ability to be able to save those small businesses if we wanted to. But we have corporate lobbyists and we have corporations, and we're more interested in them so that they carry the donors and the lobbying that go along with members of Congress and the president. So it was not a choice. And I want to be very clear. It's not a choice. Let 1% to 2% of our children die, or let small business go under. And first of all, that wasn't the choice. And number two, even if that was a choice, I would choose the lives of children over businesses. All day long, every day. And I damn sure would not put the guy who thought children dying was a great option, right, in charge of the elderly. I just wouldn't. The elderly and the people that are disabled, absolutely not. That's not the guy that I think would be a great choice for that. So again, I'm asking Mookie, give me one policy, one action from the Trump administration that saved lives.
So I guess I'm not going to be able to provide something that would be valid, because the ones that I have that I consider valid, you don't, and it's a perspective issue.
But it's not a perspective issue. It's not a perspective issue. Buenos dias, Mr. Barrios. It's not a perspective issue. So listen, okay, Mookie, if I come to you, right, and in my right hand, I whip the shit out of you, and I give you cuts and bruises, and in my left hand, I give you Band-Aids and cream. Do I get credit for the Band-Aids and cream or no?
Yeah, because there's people that wouldn't have offered that.
But do you need the Band-Aids and cream if I hadn't whipped the shit out of you to start with? Or do they cancel each
No.
other out?
They do cancel each other out.
Okay, so that's the point. So that's the point. So this is what I'm saying. You provided the jab, but then you canceled it out by telling people not to get it and you politicized it, right? So they cancel each other out. So when you say it's a matter of perspective, it's a matter of just common sense and logic.
But if he hadn't have done Project Warp Speed, the people that were saved by the vaccine that didn't have it administered wouldn't be with us today.
And if he hadn't politicized it, more people would be alive. If he hadn't politicized it, there are more people that would be alive right now today.
Right. But
right.
Isn't most of the unvaccinated side those that had voted for him? By believing the rhetoric that he was spitting on the second half of his tour de force, so to speak, of saying that, well, these other options are a viable option. So the people that supported him, that chose not to take the jab, if they had passed, that's by their own choosing.
No, nope. You have to take accountability. You have to take accountability for leadership. People chose something because they trusted their president to give them the best scientific medical information that was available to him, and he did not do so.
He was operating under the advice of Dr. Fauci.
No, he wasn't. Not when he said ivermectin. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't when he said don't mask. No, he wasn't. He was not. And if he was acting under the advice of Dr. Fauci, his rhetoric would have been much different, but it wasn't. And so that's my point. We're not going to say, oh, well, people unalive because they chose not to. They chose not to based on what the president of the United States said. And this is my thing. We are at a place now where you can't even tell the president of the United States. You can't trust him to tell you the best medical advice, the best science available from the quote unquote greatest country in the world, right? Really?
The problem that I have with that statement is, when did becoming the president have such an impact that people weren't allowed to think for themselves and take accountability for
But they weren't
actions?
thinking for themselves. They were believing the president. They can think for themselves as long as I'm not telling them lies. You understand? They can think for themselves, but if I'm the one telling them the lies, then I'm responsible for that. I'm responsible. If I am sitting in, when you are sitting in a position, right, of authority, of leadership, okay, and you tell people lies, and the things that you tell people causes harm, then you have accountability to take for that.
To an extent, yes.
Absolutely. So I'm not saying people shouldn't think. I'm saying the president of the United States shouldn't lie to them.
That I agree with.
Okay.
However, I also believe that with the internet readily available at any city library.
Nope. It's not the way it works. Number one, not all cities have libraries. Number two, people do not know what they don't know. So if people do not know how to look up medical information or even be able to understand it, that's not the average citizen's responsibility. That's why you go to the damn doctor, because you didn't go to medical school. And that does not excuse the president for lying to people. When he had access to the top medical scientific people in the world. So no, he doesn't get a pass for lying to people. And you and I both know, at least I hope you do, that the internet is going to give you what you put into it. And it is going to give you confirmation bias. Period.
So real quick to answer Dani, because they had posed a question. I actually did have 2 jobs during the pandemic. I was also over 40, sleep deprived, and 38 years diabetic, and I was unvaccinated. I was supposed to be one of the people that didn't survive.
Nope, that's not what people said. That's not what was said, Mookie. It said it made you more vulnerable. It didn't say anybody that doesn't get it, that has comorbidities, is going to die. That's not what it said. It said, number one, it would reduce your chances of getting it. And number two, not make it as severe if you got it. That's all it said. Vaccines aren't like some miracle, not in and of themselves.
Correct.
So that's all that they promised, Mookie. They promised that it would reduce your likelihood of getting it and make your symptoms less severe if you get it. It's the same thing they tell you when you get your flu shot.
Right. And what is the litmus to say the symptoms are less severe of someone who did or didn't get it? Because each person's body and genetic makeup is different. So there's
Exactly.
not really a way to say that it did or didn't do that.
Well, it is. Yes, it is. Because at that time, we were tracking how many people tested positive, right? That's what we were tracking at the time, especially before we had home kits. And we were tracking before people got bad enough to be hospitalized. And that was the deal, was to keep people out of the hospital. That was the deal. So we do know. We know how many people got it, and we know how many people didn't go to the hospital. We know how many people that went to the hospital were admitted and how many of them were not.
That's not the question I posed. The question I posed is, how do we know that either the timeline or duration of the...
You never mentioned timeline or duration. You said symptoms not being as severe.
Right. And you're saying diagnosis.
No, I didn't.
So how do we know?
No, I didn't say diagnosis. I said we were tracking diagnosis. So, Mookie,
Right.
Here's what I said. Right, because hospitalization would equal more significant symptoms. Hospitalization would mean you got it worse than somebody that wasn't hospitalized.
In theory, yes.
No, in real life. In real life.
So the people that had passed,
Mm-hmm.
those that also had other comorbidities prior to, how do we know that COVID was the turning point for them? Was it because they died? Sorry, that was very crass. I didn't mean it to come off that way. That was horribly crass. I apologize. Was it they had passed during the COVID pandemic? Or was it because of poor life choices, they had a heart attack while they were infected? And did the infection lead to the heart attack? And that's a correlation that I have not yet seen.
Okay. Well, there's a ton of studies. There are a ton of studies out there. There are a ton of studies out there. And one of the things that if you know anything about medicine, if you know anything about medicine and science, is we probably won't have the best data about what happened during that global pandemic for another 5 to 10 years. Because that not only was that virus here, but we also know that virus mutated several times, all within the span of 12, 18, 2 years. And it's still doing that now. There's a new variant now, right? And so the bottom line is that here's this. The President of the United States had the best information possible to give to the American people. And instead of doing that, he told them, drink some damn bleach or take a horse pill. And it's these damn Democrats' fault that businesses are shutting down and children aren't going to school and all these other things, right? And so the point is I'm going to hold him responsible for the choices that he made and the information that he gave to people out of his mouth. That's what I'm going to do.
That is actually very admirable. Can you by chance give me a search term or something for these more recent studies? To be honest, I've been out of the loop. So I would like to see the more recent data, because my opinion is not carved in stone. And the more information I have, the more informed I can be and the better decision I can make. Is there a term or something that I should be searching for other than modern results? When I Google
I
my
wouldn't
results
do modern. I would use, latest results, 2025 assessments. You're going to find all kinds of things out there. And so I would recommend looking at the National Institutes of Health. I would recommend looking at JAMA. I would recommend looking at, those types of scientific medical journals where they are looking at peer-reviewed studies, right? And not just some fly-by-night opinion. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. I will definitely be doing more research into that because I hadn't had the more recent issues. That was, goodness, mine's probably going on 3 years old.
Yeah, and that it just wouldn't be what we would have. And I would also recommend, if you don't know just how much was cut from the CDC's budget, you might want to take a look at that. Because the new bill that came out, the I don't know if, let me see if I have it pulled up still or not. Oh, I do. So remember with the bill, how they reorganized HHS and did all these different things? So this was the suggestion. It would cut the CDC's budget by more than half, 54% total. It would reduce the chronic disease prevention department by 98%. You heard that right. It would cut the chronic disease prevention by 98%. It reduced the HIV, AIDS, hepatitis, STD, and TB prevention by 63%. It reduced the public health preparedness and response by 37%. It reduced the injury prevention and control by 29%. It decreased global health by 53%. OSHA, occupational safety and health, decreased that department by 80%. Right? So when I look at these cuts, this does not demonstrate an administration for me that is interested in saving lives and doing the best things for the people.
Sorry, I'm taking notes. It'll be just 1 second. I'm writing these names down so I don't forget them later.
Sure.
Okay, so again, thank you. I appreciate the information and the alternate resources.
Yeah.
My opinions are ever evolving, and I appreciate being able to come on and discuss with you. Hopefully I was respectful. I know I had at least one crass comment, and for that, again, I do apologize.
No,
That's
you're
not
good.
my nature. I was destiny. But
No, you're good. I appreciate it.
So you have a great rest of your day. I'm off to do some research, and I appreciate your time again.
Awesome. You're welcome. Appreciate you, Mugu. All right. So, folks, I want to take a second and share this with you. So, folks that are on YouTube and on Twitch, I literally just put a link in the chat for you. So, if you would like to join as a guest, you can do so. Okay. Listen, I want you all to remember in the comments to be maybe CD, we'll see, right? So listen, you guys, I want you to remember in the chat to be patient. People that have voted for him for three different times, right? You've got to give people grace to be able to change their positions, to take in and digest new information, right? And don't be so dismissive. That is one thing that progressives need to do better, is stop demonizing and dismissing people. And I know that it's tough because you're tired of hearing the same rhetoric, but if you do not stop attacking people and demeaning them, then they're not going to listen. And so you have to allow them to get new information, and that new information is going to challenge them because it is putting up something that they haven't heard before, or it's in a different way. So I'm just going to challenge you guys in the chat to be more patient. Okay. Now I promised at the beginning of this that I was going to share with you all something that happened yesterday. He did listen and he did take the information, and I love that. And I hope he comes back. Right. So I know, just take a deep breath, guys. Take a deep breath. Right. We are in tumultuous times. Right. What's up, Veronica? Okay. So yesterday I shared, earlier today when I got started, I shared with you all yesterday. Yeah. So JA, you've been in here a bajillion times, bro. You've been in here a bajillion times. You already know what the deal is. You're welcome, Mookie. So I don't know why you come back, JA. Why do you come back in here? Yes, you have. Like, why do you come back? But first I want to share something with you all real quick, okay? So yes, I told you all that I would share with you all something that I had happen yesterday, okay? So remember I was talking to you all about the dude that I've seen Hamza, whatever his last name is, and him having conversations with Israelis. And that is something that I don't get an opportunity to do on any of these apps, right? Um, well, I'm not hard left, JA. So, but here's the thing, right? So on this app, I've gotten to talk to Palestinians. I have not gotten to talk to Israelis. Now, I've gotten to talk to Zios, but that's not the same thing as being able to talk to. I wanted to talk to somebody that's is in Israel, is Israeli, and see what their perspective was. So I hopped up there on this site yesterday, and woo wee, it was interesting. But I kept going ting 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 until I got to someone, right? And so I want to share with you all what my experience was like yesterday talking to a 19-year-old Israeli young man living in Israel. About 20 to 30 minutes away from Tel Aviv is where he lives. And I wasn't sure what to expect. And y'all know me, I like to have conversations that are fair and conversations that are engaging. I really wanted to understand their perspective, right? And he surprised me first. He surprised me. Let me just tell you, first and foremost, he surprised me. Not just at the things that he said, but at the things that he was able to acknowledge and say to me about other conversations, right? So when we first started the conversation, he chuckled, and I told him this was my first time on it. And he said, yeah, you don't look like the normal target audience for here. And I said, no, probably not. And he was like, yeah, there's a lot of pervs and people and whatever, right? And I said, yeah, that's definitely not me. But I told him why, that I really wanted to talk to somebody that was in Israel because there was so much going on, and it's such a heated subject over here, from Israel and Iran to Israel and Palestine and Gaza and the West Bank. And I said, is it a hot topic over there? You know what I mean? And he said, yeah. He said, people do talk about it a lot. And I mentioned Hamza to him and some of the things that I've seen and heard over there. And as we were discussing these things, things that impressed me about him was he was actually able to say that there are things that his government has done that makes him sad and that he's disappointed in. He said things like he didn't like what was happening in Gaza and the West Bank, and he didn't like what was happening. Also, things are worse in Israel than they were before, right? And so I asked him, I said, so what are you all taught about like the history of it? Are you guys taught about the Sykes-Picot, agreement? Are you taught about the Balfour Declaration? Are you taught about the Nakba? And he said, well, we don't call it the Nakba. And he said, we actually call it, it's like our Independence Day. He said, no, Yari, it wasn't TikTok. And he said, matter of fact, it's tomorrow. So that would be today. He said that Israel celebrates that day today. And he said, it's like our Independence Day. And I said, independence from what? Like, I know like our Independence Day, we were getting free from the British, but what was Israel getting free from? Because like you were already independent. So, and he was like, well, I guess more so like we celebrate, are coming home. And so, and I said, oh, okay, got that. All right, Nini. And then I asked him, was he, oh, thanks, Emmeline. I asked him, were they taught, and I talked to him about the historical document from May 4th, 1948, the letter, the draft memorandum from the UN to the US Secretary of State. And I'm not kidding. I pulled it up on my laptop as I'm talking to him. He actually pulled it up on his end too. And so he's looking at the same document that I was looking at. And we talked about, the document saying that the Jewish agency refused to even have a on the spot truce, right? And so, Cheryl, listen, I am sharing about our conversation. I'm always factual, right? But what I am doing right now is sharing a discussion that I had with someone. Okay. And if I want to gain understanding from someone, I can't all the time be argumentative. I have to listen to what they say. That's the whole point in the conversation, is for me to hear and understand what at 19 he knows and what he's taught about his history. I know what land is where and all of those things, right? So anyway, yes, he was. And so I was surprised he pulled the document up with me. And we were talking about, the Jewish agency's refusal to even, have an on the spot truce negotiations. And he said, we know it would be interesting to see, what the truce was. And I said, well, what I don't understand is why Palestine wasn't included, right? Why didn't they have a say in the whole matter, right? Because it was the Jewish Zionist organization that went to the Brits to establish this national home. And then I asked him, I said, why, because you say that you come home because this is your land. And I said, but here's what I don't understand. If it was truly about you coming back to this particular land, then why did you guys consider putting it in Argentina? Why did you guys consider doing it in Uganda? Why did you guys consider doing it in, even New York? You know what I mean? If it was about coming back to what you felt was your land originally, then why was there even consideration in these other places before landing on Palestine? And he said, well, those things were never like seriously considered. It was about us coming home. And right, why so many options? And so, I hear him. So listen, I want you all to not roll your eyes. I'm sharing with you a conversation from a 19-year-old young man. This is his perspective, and I'm wanting to get his perspective. Like, that's the whole point of having these conversations. It's not to argue or challenge what he believes, right? It's about me asking questions so I understand his mindset, right? And because I asked him, I said, but you all had not have, because I was asking him when he said about our independence, and I said, yeah, but you guys were never enslaved. And then he mentioned, the treatment that they were getting in Germany before, because this is all before the Holocaust ever happened. And I said, right, I get that. I know that you all were targeted. I do understand that, right? And you were not enslaved. And I said, so that part is what I don't get. Like, I would equate the disparagement or the discrimination that they endured in Germany. I would equate that to like maybe part of the Jim Crow. He's from Israel, and he's from about 30 minutes outside of Tel Aviv. Okay. And he said, yeah, he said, I get that. And I said, so I guess for me, what I don't understand is why there needed to be this national home for a particular group of people, right? because that doesn't exist for like anybody. Like, we've never said, oh, we need a national home for Black Americans. You know what I mean? So things that surprised me that I was pleased with. The fact that he was willing to look up the information while we were there and to look up the documents together, right? I asked him, what did he think about the things that were happening in the West Bank? And he said he believed that what was happening in the West Bank is wrong. He said he believes that Israel should come out of the West Bank and West Bank should belong to the Palestinians, which again, I was surprised. But that was his position. And he said, ideally, he said, we would be able to coexist, but it just doesn't seem to be able to happen, right? And we talked a little bit about Gaza, and we even talked about Lebanon, right? And we talked about the fact that Hezbollah was formed in 82 after Israel attacked in 81. And we talked about even Hamas that, came to be in 88 after, the Israeli occupation. And then I asked him specifically about the things being done to Palestinians by the IDF. And I said, a lot of the things that I've seen online, I've seen them brag about raping people. I've seen them brag about unaliving Palestinians and Palestinian babies. And he said, yeah, I don't agree with those things. He said, I don't agree with those things. And he said, that the war itself makes him sad, right? People being unalived on both sides. He did agree that the response from Israel wasn't proportionate to what happened on October 7th. We talked about Iran and the Iranian regime. And I asked him if he was going to, because I asked him, I said, can I ask your age? And he said yes. He told me he was 19. And I asked him if he was going to have to serve in the IDF. And he said yes. And he said he's proud that he's going to serve, which puzzled me at first, right? I was like, what do you mean? Because we just finished talking about some of the horrible things that they do. And then he said, I had a lot of concerns beforehand. He said, so I asked a lot of questions. And he said, my role won't be a combat role. He said, and I've just decided that I'm not going to do anything that goes against my values. And he said, I've just decided if I'm asked to do something that goes against my values, I'm just going to have to go to prison because I'm not willing to do those things. Which I was like, kudos for fucking you, right? Right? I know. And he said, I'm just going to have to go to prison. And so I asked him, and he said, that most of the people that you talk to they're not going to say the things that he says, right? He said the majority of the people aren't going to have the same view that he has, right? He did say that. He said that the majority of people won't have the views that he has. There was something else that I was going to say that he said. So we talked a little bit about Bibi and Trump, right? And no, this is an Israeli guy. I talked to a 19-year-old Israeli yesterday. Thanks, Roderick. I appreciate that. And so he said, we talked about Bibi and we talked about Trump. And he kind of laughed when I talked about Trump, and I kind of chuckled when he talked about Bibi. And he actually said things that we don't hear about because it is something that is just going on within Israel. He said is that many of the people in Israel don't like Bibi. Like they might not like Palestinians, but they also don't like Bibi. And he said he said that Bibi is doing things kind of like Trump does. And he said so before October 7th, he said that Bibi had made some move to try to take over their Supreme Court so that he could control like the law of the land. And he said that Bibi's brother, I believe he said it's his brother, what actually started a media company. And he said that Bibi's media company actually gives all like favorable news about Bibi, like it's all praising Bibi. And he said that Bibi tried to get rid of or did get rid of their largest radio outlet there in Israel, and that he calls all the other ones fake news except for the one that talks good about him. And he said so he's very similar to he said, that what Bibi's there is very similar to what Trump is trying to do here. And so the Israelis don't like it. And he said, so many of the people don't like him. And so remember that Bibi has an election coming up in October, right? Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know that. And he said, yeah, he said, you won't hear about it outside of here. And then we were talking about that and what I wouldn't hear outside of there, because it's just what happens there. And I'm trying to think, there was something else too that we were talking about. Oh, so when we were kind of getting ready to wrap things up, right? I told him, I said, well, you were my first phone call. I said, I think, I'm going to try to do this. I would like to talk to some more Israelis. And he says to me, he says, do you know Hasbara? And I said, I've heard the term, but I don't know a whole lot about it. And he said, so, no, Jamie, I didn't. And he said, he asked me if I knew Hasbara. And I said, I've heard the word, but I don't know a whole lot about it. And he said, well, it's like these talking points. He said, it's the talking points that we're all taught to say. And he said, and I said, so you mean like Israel has the right to defend itself? He was like, yeah, like that. He was like, most of the other people that you talk to, they're going to say things like, does Israel have the right to exist? And Israel has the right to defend itself. And he was like, it's called Hasbara, Hasbara. And he said, that's what the majority of the people that I'm going to talk to are going to say. Right. And then it was funny. He said, not to brag. He said, but I think it's going to be all downhill for you after this, because I've set the bar really high. I said, yeah, you've set the bar really high in terms of having a respectful conversation about things. And I thanked him for sharing his perspectives with me and helping me understand a little bit more. And I think what was amazing about it was he was honest enough to tell me that most of the people there don't think like he does, right? The fact that he was willing to say to me, you're going to get the propaganda machine when you talk to other people. Because I talked to him about, yeah. So Shawnee, that's what he said. He said 80% of the people probably aren't going to have his view. And so I use this app, but I just went on the URL for it, and you can search for people in different countries, and it just randomly matches you with people. So he was my first Israeli random match. And so that was we talked for a long time. And then during that, way in the middle of that, I told him that, with what I do, I talk to people a lot about politics and things like that. And I talked about being online. And I said, I don't have a huge following or everything. And I said, but besides my, with my two, platforms. I said, I have about 100,000 followers. And then he said, I've got to ask you a question. And I said, what's that? No, he was in his bedroom, Carla. And so I asked him, he said, I have a question. I said, what's that? And he said, are you recording this? And I said, no, I'm not. And I did my hands like this. And I said, I'm not. I said, I would never record you without asking permission. And he said, okay. He said, I believe you. And I said, yeah, no, I'm not. I would ask you first. And then he was like, it's okay. And then when I told him that I was going to talk about him today, he was like, I'm going to have to tune in. So he did. He tuned in over on YouTube today, but he tickled me because he said, well, when you talk about me tomorrow, he was like, verbally blur me out. Which was funny. Like he was a witty kid, smart kid. Like it was a really good conversation. I was on Om TV. That's what I was on. I didn't ask his religion. I didn't ask him. We did, for just a smidge, like talk a little bit about Zionism and that sort of thing. And, but we didn't stay on it. I forgot how we got distracted, but we didn't. Yeah. He said, verbally blur me out. But yeah, so, I mean, it was a good experience for me. I do want to do more of it. But he did tell me that, the other conversations probably won't be like ours. But for me, I want to get an understanding of how people that live in Israel, that grew up in Israel, how they feel about Israel and what are they taught versus what we're taught. No worries, Alicia, and that sort of thing. Because I'm still learning. Most of the stuff that I've learned in the last 10 to 12 months. So, and of course, and I told him I've talked to a lot of Palestinians. So the Palestinian perspective is the one that I have the most of, right? So, that's kind of where it is. And so, and I did say to him, I did say to him that if I were, because he was talking about like how a lot of the Israelis are going to say they hate Palestinians, but he said Palestinians are going to say they hate Israelis, and I said, yeah, but to be fair, right? If I was a Palestinian, because he even said that what's happened in Gaza, he said that what's happened in Gaza isn't okay. And he said it makes him sad because we talked about the children and we talked about the babies. And I talked to him about Dr. Mimi. I did ask him in a minute, looks Max. I asked him if he knew who Dr. Mimi Saeed was. And he said no. And I shared with him that she was a physician that had been to Gaza twice, and that she kept track of like her patients and all of that. And that, she kept a log of the ages of her patients. And she said 86% of them were children. And you could just see his whole face look really sad. And no, Chris, I don't think so. And no, Hakeem. Mm-mm. And so anyway, he just said, that all of that part of it makes him sad. And so I think it's yeah, Jay Bird. And he said that, a good majority of them feel like that, but I wanted to share this conversation. And as I have more of those conversations, I'll be happy to share with you guys. Yeah, you're welcome, Invisible String. Like I said, it was a good conversation to have. We talked about, what I'm going to get if I talk to some of the IDF guys and what they're going to, say they did and all of that. But things that I truly appreciated was him being willing to acknowledge some of the harms, right? And what really shocked me was him saying that he believed Israel should come out of the West Bank and give the West Bank to the Palestinians. That surprised me. That really surprised me. That and him saying that when he serves in the IDF, he'll just go to prison if he's asked to do anything that violates his values. Those two things were the most surprising for me to hear him say. So, but I wanted to share that with you all because I know we are bombarded by a lot of the Zionist Israeli stuff, and so for me, it was good to hear the good stuff. Like so, and y'all listen. Being a veteran, we've had parts of our military do horrible things, horrible things, right? We have, especially like in Vietnam, our vets did horrible things over there. So, you know, when he says, you know, it's not all of the IDF, that's, you know, I get that. I would have to look up the statistic too, but it's the majority. We discussed it a little bit, but not a lot of it. You know what I mean? And so for me, hey Dolphin. So it was a good conversation, and I would love to see that kid grow up to be in some sort of leadership position, you know, untainted and with the values that he has today. Yeah, just saying. But you know, anyway. Um, so I got through those two things. Um, yeah. I mean, it really surprised me that he's 19. You know what I mean? I thought it was amazing for him to have that perspective. Right, 100%. Yeah. So, who knows? I'm gonna try it again and see who I get to talk to next. No, I didn't ask anything about his family. I didn't ask anything personal. We stuck to just mainly the issues and all of that, and a little bit of the history stuff. You know what I mean? Um, and like I said, his willingness to even look up the document, the historical document, when I was looking it up, the fact that he like typed it in and pulled it up too, I was like, that's amazing. You know what I mean? So I think that that's pretty awesome. So it was a really good experience. We'll see what happens after this. You know what I mean? But yeah, but I wanted to share that. Let me see real quick. All right. So the last thing that I'm seeing, so Iran has threatened to completely close the Strait of Hormuz, but they haven't yet. Let me see. And there's disagreements. Like Trump is saying that nobody's gotten through the military blockade. Iran has saying some of their ships have managed to get through. So whatever. Wow. So on the status of the negotiations, Pakistan made an announcement and said that they are still waiting for Iran's response on attending the talks. So far, Iran has maintained radio silence and has not said what they're going to do in terms of the state of negotiations, right? Let me look real quick. So Halliburton is saying that disruptions caused by Iran's war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz could cut their current quarter earnings per share by about 7 to 9 cents after it beat its first quarter profit estimates. So let me take a look real quick over here, folks. Yeah, I mean, they're very serious about so he hasn't said anything in the last 2 hours. Trump hasn't, so nothing new on his end. So we'll just wait and see. Yeah, no, they typically don't end well. The EU has agreed to widen sanctions against Iran to include those responsible for blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah, this is going to get ugly if we don't figure something out soon, like real talk. Right, Stephanie, 100%. Right, 100%. Good morning, Arvette. Okay. Things that I also wanted to talk about really quickly. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. All right. So I want to see if I can get the link to the whole thing. Give me 1 second. Oh my God, stop giving me pop-up boxes, please. That's what I want. All right. So over 200 journalists signed onto a letter that went to the White House Correspondents Association. And so I'm going to share that letter with you all. Dan Rather was part of this. You know, he's 92 now. But I want to share the letter with you all. There's a lot of historically great journalists on this list. Wow. It's like almost 200 of them, folks. Wow. All right. So here we go. To the officers, board of directors, and members of the White House Correspondents Association, we, the undersigned, call upon the White House Correspondents Association to use the occasion of the White House Correspondents' Dinner to forcefully demonstrate opposition to President Trump's efforts to trample freedom of the press. The dinner has long served as a symbol of the vital and irreplaceable role of a free press in American democracy and a celebration of the First Amendment and the journalists who uphold it. President Trump's systematic, sustained, and unprecedented attacks on the free press, detailed below, render his presence at such an event a profound contradiction of its purpose. There is a long tradition of presidents attending the White House Correspondents Association dinner, but these are not normal times, and this cannot be business as usual, with the press standing up to applaud the man who attacks them on a daily basis. We understand that some journalists plan to wear pocket handkerchiefs or lapel pins with the words of the First Amendment, and continuing in that spirit, we believe the White House Correspondents Association should take stronger action by issuing from the podium a forceful defense of freedom of the press and condemnation of those who threaten that freedom, followed by a standing toast to the First Amendment and a pledge to continue upholding such a critical cornerstone of our democracy. Speak forcefully in front of the man who seeks to undermine our country's long tradition of an independent, strong, and free press. We also urge the White House Correspondents Association to reaffirm without equivocation that freedom of the press is not a partisan issue and that the association will not normalize this behavior, but instead fight back against any office holder who has waged systematic war against the journalists whose work the dinner celebrates. The Trump administration's attacks on freedom of the press, and they list them in bullet points. Number one, in February of 2025, the Trump administration banned Associated Press reporters from pulled press events at the White House and aboard Air Force One after the AP declined to alter its longstanding editorial style guide to replace the internally recognized name of quote unquote Gulf of Mexico with the president's preferred term of quote unquote Gulf of America. Two, in early 2025, the Trump administration stripped office space at the Pentagon from CNN, The Washington Post, The Hill, NBC News, The New York Times, NPR, Politico, and other outlets whose coverage the administration deemed unfavorable. The Trump administration implemented Pentagon press rules in September 2025, prohibiting reporters from reporting any information not cleared by the Defense Department, a move a court ultimately ruled violated the First Amendment. Four, President Trump has engaged in a sustained pattern of personal verbal attacks on individual reporters, including calling ABC reporter Mary Bruce, quote, a terrible person and a terrible reporter, calling Bloomberg News reporter Catherine Lucy, quote unquote, piggy, calling CBS reporter Nancy Cordes a quote unquote stupid person, calling New York Times reporter Katie Rogers, quote unquote, a third-rate reporter, and quote unquote ugly both inside and out, calling CNN anchor Caitlin Collins, quote unquote, the worst reporter, calling ABC reporter Rachel Scott, quote unquote, obnoxious and a terrible reporter, a pattern disproportionately targeting women journalists. I was just going to point that out. You notice he's only calling women journalists names. Trump also threatening to revoke ABC's broadcast license when the network's reporters asked questions he disliked. Next, in a speech at the Department of Justice on March 14th, 2025, President Trump publicly called CNN and MSNBC corrupt and illegal and broadly attacked the independent reporting of major American news organizations as quote unquote illegal, using the bully pulpit of the presidency to delegitimize and intimidate the free press. In November 2025, the White House launched an official government webpage titled, quote unquote, Hall of Shame, naming and targeting individual journalists and news organizations for reporting that the administration disagreed with. In December 2025, Trump publicly accused the New York Times of treason, labeling it, quote, the enemy of the people, rhetoric that press freedom organizations worldwide have identified as characteristic of authoritarian governments. Next, President Trump through FCC prayed. Do I have to read all of these? Because dear God, I'm not. There's no way. I'm putting this link in the link tree right now because for fuck's sake, it's 3 pages. I just scrolled down and was like, nope, not reading 3 pages. Not reading 3 pages, y'all. Love y'all, mean it, but holy hell no. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I'd have been like, what? Absolutely not. No way. They listed them all, 3 pages worth, all from the last year. Yes. Yeah. So like, holy hell, y'all. Like, absolutely not. Hold on. I'm trying to put the damn link thing in the link tree. Hold on. I got it. Whew. All right. I'm putting it in my link tree right now, literally as we speak. Give me 1 second. So it is the 4th link in there. Okay. All right, folks. So it's there. It's in the link tree for you. Jeez, oh, Pete. All right. Let me check in with everybody right now. Yes, Cheryl, that's exactly it. Because the women hold his feet to the fire. No, because I put it in there and closed it out, Helen. So I don't know. And plus that was overruled already by the court. So my understanding now is that they had to give the offices back to those people in the Pentagon. What do you think about the folks wanting to pass in Tennessee? You have to have at least one child. I think it'll get overturned and waste a lot more of our courts dollars, because the ACLU ain't having it. That's what I think. I think it's a waste of fucking time and energy, and it's not going to happen. That's what I think. Yeah, just saying. All right. So that was my other thing that was on the list. Okay, so I need to talk about Texas before I'm going to talk about Texas for 15 minutes. And then we're going to do a River to the Sea panel. Okay. And so this is the time where we show our support to our friends that are in Gaza. So if you need to recharge or do whatever it is you need to do, now is the time, because when I finish talking to you about this right here, then we're going to have a Pally panel. Okay. What's up, Frozo? How you doing, friend? All right. So real quick, I just heard my neighbor walking towards her house. She said, "Damn, it's cold." Yeah, we don't like it right now. The temperature dropped like 15 degrees. Oh, yeah. It was like 85 the other day. That shit hit 70 today, and it was like 40 this morning. Everybody said, Yeah. Well, you know how we do in the South. We got to have 3, 4, 5, 6 different springs before like real spring comes. So okay, let me do this. What was I doing? Oh, this is what I'm doing. I had to think about how I needed to pull this up. So this whole thing is 20 minutes long, 18 minutes long. I am going to put it into the link tree, like literally right now, so that you can find it. But I really need to share this with you all so that you know what's happening. I'm going to play the first couple of minutes so that you get it. Okay. All right. What's been discussed? Every damn thing. So one of the things that was discussed is I used TV to talk to an Israeli dude yesterday. So I talked about that. And I talked about Iran and the president, and I talked about and I had a guest up for a long time that was talking about the president and policy, and he voted for him 3 times and all those other things. Yes, I have General Kane as well in here. General Kane is my next thing after this one. So first, I need to add this so that you guys can watch the full thing, because it is 20 minutes long, and I'm not going to play the whole thing for 20 minutes, but I want you all to see the beginning of this. Shit. Not me copying the wrong link. Y'all would have been like, "Dani, that's not what you said it was." I'd have been like, you're right. You're right. Baruti was here though. Frozo. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm going to move this down and make it the 5th link. I think. Yeah. 5th link. All right. Okay. So I need to share this with you guys over here, because this is a big deal. Where are all my Texas people? If you are Texas people, you're going to want to watch this. You really are going to want to watch this. Okay. All right, Texas people, here we go. This is really important for you. So this is from A More Perfect Union. And here we go.
Money in the state of Texas to get me water that I have lost.
When they talk about my water, they're talking about their commodity.
It's immoral what's going on.
This is the front lines of America's new water wars.
A massive groundwater project could pull billions of gallons of water from East Texas.
They can take all of your water, all of your neighbor's water, and all your granddaddy's water.
One hedge fund manager claims that he can deliver billions of gallons of water to Texas cities that are running out. But he's made a fortune off a crisis before.
We're talking to Kyle Bass. He made $500 million shorting the subprime market.
And we made hundreds of millions of dollars in a day. And I sat down with my team and I said, this is it.
Kyle Bass's plan is part of a broader Wall Street trend of buying up water rights as water becomes a more valuable commodity.
Private investors are betting that in a hotter and drier future, water is the new oil.
I believe that agricultural land with water on site will be very valuable in the future.
Landowners and politicians are fighting back against this Wall Street water grab. And in the process, they just might change some antiquated water laws in Texas.
Democrat, Republican, black, white, everybody is in agreement. We got to protect our water.
So that's the intro. I want you, it's called More Perfect Union. The link to this entire video is in my link tree already. But just to give you the short and dry of it, private investors are buying the water rights in states all across the country in order to make a buck off of climate change that they deny exists, to sell the water back to cities. So wait till you see them. This woman is going to show you when she turns on the spigots and stuff, what's coming out is crazy. And so I wanted to make sure that I brought people's attention to it, because it's insane to me that they think that water is an opportunity to make money. It is insane to me that this is a conversation that investors are having. And right, I know. And so, and I'm just going to tell you all my very first thought when I saw this, right? Here's my very first thought when I saw this. I thought was, well, you should have listened to the fucking Native Americans, because they've been telling you all to protect the water for fucking ever. But y'all threw them in jail for saying protect the water against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Listen to Native Americans. They've been saying protect the fucking water. Been saying it. But now all of a sudden, when it's becoming an issue that impacts you, now all of a sudden you get it. Native Americans have been saying protect the water forever. So just saying that it depends based on the states. It depends based on your states. You have to look at your state's laws to see who owns the water rights. And everybody should be wanting legislation that protects the water rights. So I wanted to make sure that this was something that I told you all about, so that you could watch it, so that this could be a conversation that you are having, especially in Texas. This is an opportunity for us to start building some graphics around this issue so that we can use them in Project for the People, and that sort of thing, right? Because this is something that does touch everybody. And it's in my link tree. It's in my link tree. It's the 5th link down. Okay. And so the last thing that I'm going to share with you all is they're talking about General Kane. Oh, I bet so, Chu. I bet. So General Dan Kane is the 22nd chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's the nation's highest ranking military officer, right? And there are new reports that he blocked the president from using codes. You know the football codes? Y'all know the football codes? Yeah. So here's what happened. Okay. A retired CIA analyst by the name of Larry Johnson told the quote unquote Judging Freedom program that during a Saturday White House meeting, President Trump allegedly sought to use nuclear codes but was stopped by General Dan Kane. Johnson claimed that Kane invoked his authority as a senior military leader to refuse the order, resulting in a significant blowup. These allegations are unverified, but suggest an extraordinary moment of military resistance to a presidential directive. Quote, one report coming out of the White House is that Trump wanted to use the nuclear codes. General Dan Kane stood up and said no. He invoked his privilege as the head of the military. It was apparently quite a blow up, end quote. And that is a quote by Larry Johnson, former CIA analyst. So I have so many feels about this, right? I have so many feels about this. Thanks, Scotty. I actually need to get water. But hold on, guys. I need to get water. Can Cam or somebody give me a mod announcement while I get some water? That would be amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Be right back, folks.
I was about to say, beam me up, Scotty. I cracked myself up. Hey guys, happy, what is it, Tuesday? Yes, happy Tuesday. Welcome today. Hey, get a grab. Yes, hey guys, hey. Please go ahead and tap and share the live out. As always, Dani is sharing great information with us. Oh yeah, hey Scotty. Sorry to steal your name for a second there. I think in a little bit, we're going to do River to the Sea. I think Dani's going to finish what she was talking about. And then River to the Sea. Yes, Taco Tuesday, Aline. Go ahead, tap and share all the things so that we can reach the right people for the TikTok algorithm. And then help Dani with her gift goal, which I'll help with in a second too when I get off. Hopefully everyone's having a good Tuesday. What's everyone doing? Let's see.
Hold on one second. I got to do a bio break too real quick.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You are good. I am I know Dani, I'm pretty sure she uses like AI for the background, but I am cracking up at the Cash Patel eyes. Oh my God. I cannot stop laughing. Oh, hey, Red Hot. Hey. So yes, I know I'm just like blabbering around while Dani is doing her thing. But if you have not already, Dani in the background also has Project for the People. So hopefully everyone here is signed up and knows exactly what I'm talking about. Crash Baton. Yeah, seriously. If hopefully everyone knows what Project for the People is. If you do not know what Project for the People is, it is Dani's initiative to get the people going and out on these streets and, activated, I should say. And tonight at 6. Oh, good point, Scotty. I'm just all over the place. So join Project for the People by going to Dani's bio on the top left. So go to Dani's bio, click her little Linktree, and then it'll be like the first, second, or third form. I don't know the order right now, but
first,
one of the top three. Yep, number one. And you'll sign up for Project for the People there. You'll just put your name and then like your location, not your address, but just your general region. That is just for Dani only, so that she can kind of have an idea of where you're at and kind of link you up with local people, like-minded people, so that she can kind of build little chapters for Project for the People. That's the purpose of it. It's not for anyone else. It's only for Dani. So please fill that form out if you have not already done so. So we are having a meeting tonight for Project for the People at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I have to pick up my daughter at that time, so I'll either join late or just listen virtually. We'll see. But yes, please join the meeting tonight. This is where we're going to kind of get all the points and tips from Dani so that we know what to do this weekend when we have our days of action. Unlike last time where we had days of action where it was kind of meant for one day, it's the whole weekend this time.
Yep.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And honestly, even if you want to do it on Monday, that's fine too. Like, it's meant for us to kind of all have a certain point where we're all sharing the same types of things, and we're all, whether you want to get out and share on social media, or you go to your local community, you door knock, or you are putting things in your libraries, everyone's way of helping looks different, right? And it's okay if it doesn't look the same as every other Danican, right? Everyone's doing their part in a different way. So just do what you can, but you definitely want to start by filling out the form on Dani's Linktree, and then secondarily coming to the, kickoff or whatever we want to call it for tonight. So 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
And are you sure that? Yes.
Thank you, Cam. I appreciate you so much. So any graphics for the water will not happen this week. I'm already doing other graphics for this week. But yeah, so any of those that I do will not be this week. They will be next week. Cause I still have to finish graphics for the rest of the states, between now and Friday. I literally moved my doctor's appointment from today to Thursday so that when I get off of here, I can get the girls off the bus and then get all the work done that I need to do before the meeting. So, it went out at 7 a.m., Jules. So there was I have sent an email 3 times now with the link for tonight's meeting. So if you need to search your inbox, hit the little search magnifying glass and type in Dani, Dani, and you will find the email no matter what box it was put in. So search for it by my name. And it has gone out 3 times. So everybody that has signed up in my Linktree, everybody has gotten at least one email. So everybody that joined yesterday got an email this morning at 7 a.m. because I downloaded everybody last night and did it. Yeah, girl, I'm working on it, Candy. So somebody can give Candy Kiss the link, because she accidentally unsubscribed and we have to get her subscribed back. So let me just ask really quickly before I open up this Pally panel. I need to know, in here, TikTok-ish, and over here, I need to know how many of you all are not familiar with Project for the People and what it is. So put a 1 in the chat if you are not familiar and you don't know what it is, please, because this is vitally important. So the way that I could say it is, if you give a fuck about the country and you want to help get us on the right track, and you don't know what Project for the People is, I need to know right now so that I can briefly, and I mean very briefly, show you. All right, so check this out, people. So here's what we know about the conservative side of the world. They know how to plan their work and work their plan, right? Whether it's Project 2025, whether it is Project Esther, they are forever making a project and then implementing it, right? So I got you, Genevieve. So what I wanted to do, because there was nothing coming from the progressive side of the world. Yes, Fawn, I do. Since there was nothing coming from the progressive side of the world, I decided to write a project for us, right? The playbook is the only thing that isn't uploaded for you yet, but everything else is there. And that's because the playbook is copywritten and I'm waiting for it to go to like the final stage, and then I'll share it with you guys. Okay. So let me share this with you guys. Okay. So here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give information to people that mattered, because here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to have a conversation about voting for Democrats versus voting for Republicans versus AIPAC versus Kufi versus, like, I just don't want to do that. I want to have conversations about things that actually matter to them, right? So what are the things that most people care about? We care about healthcare, we care about education, we care about housing, and we care about economics, right? And so my thing is if we have fact-based conversations around the issues, by the time we get to the midterms, people are going to vote for the people with the policies that do those things, right? So I want to show you all what I've created for you to use. And just so everybody knows, no, I'm not funded. No, nobody paid me to do this. No, I don't. All of this is my own, like, research, finding the things, verifying the information, and putting it for the graphics. Got it? So just so everybody understands, like, Project 2225 was a coalition of 50 organizations. This is a coalition of one, and now you all. So I wanted to make it as easy for people to get involved as possible. All right. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And I'm not going to go through all the election data. I'll share that tonight at tonight's meeting. But what I will show you is what you would be utilizing if you decide to become part of the project and participate. Okay. So you will get a link to my Google Drive. And this Google Drive that I've created looks like this. Stay with me, folks. I'm dropping that down. All right. So this is the Google Drive, Project for the People resources. So what I have done is give you things. Yes, Moon, you will. So here's what it looks like, folks. So this weekend is a weekend of action. And so what does that mean? I want people to, some people will print these off and they'll take them to grocery stores, community centers, farmers markets, college campuses. Some people will, all of us, hopefully, will be posting these across our social media over the weekend. We'll create like great graphics for them, but they are absolutely, exactly, Scotty, tools of knowledge. So somebody that put a 1 in the chat, will you please give me the state that you're in and your congressional district, please? And I want somebody new, somebody that put a 1 in the chat that said you don't know what this is. Give me your state and give me your congressional district. One of my 1 people. Moon and Light, it can be you. Okay, so wait, hold on. So MacD Knife, what is 1? District 1, Massachusetts. I got Alabama 5. MacD Knife, I need to know what state. Okay, so I'm going to do the ones that I got first. So the first one I got was Massachusetts, 1st Congressional District. So guys, I've done this for all 50 states, all of them. Okay, now watch. I'm going to go to Massachusetts. I'm going to open you up. I'm going to go to Congressional District 1. You can have it in English or in Spanish. Okay. And what this is this is a graphic that is going to show you how many people in that congressional district are projected to lose their Medicaid, which is Mass Health in Massachusetts, because of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Right? So 35,000 people in the 1st Congressional District in Massachusetts is 35,000 people are projected to lose their Medicaid. Now watch this. SNAP benefits, it's 39,000. So 39,000 people are projected to lose some or all of their SNAP benefits in Massachusetts. Okay. Thanks, Stacy. So I also had Alabama 5. So I'm going to go to Alabama and I'm going to go to 5. And I'm going to do the same thing. 22,000. And then 18,000. Now, I don't want you to take my word for it. I have the sources down here at the bottom. And if somebody was to ask you, you can literally pull up the Google Drive on your phone. Here is the sources for all of the information. So look, if I go here to sources and if I pull up Alabama, I'll link straight to Alabama. This is for Medicaid. This is for the Medicaid and SNAP projected losses. Okay. So the point behind this, folks, is to share information. The point behind this is to share information that matters to the people. So this is called Project for the People. It is something that I created. And the goal is to work for the next 6.5, almost 7 months between now and the midterms to equip people in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our counties, to equip them with information that matters to them so that when it comes time to vote, we are voting for the people that are going to help. So what I've also done is, for example, this is New Jersey. I have 11 people in New Jersey. You guys can actually click this and you can find out how many people are in your county. So if a county is not on here, that means I don't have anybody in that county yet. But so far, we represent 44 states and 306 counties, right? So if I go to Georgia, I have 23 people in Georgia. If I go to Texas, I'll show you Texas. I have 54 people in Texas. Okay. I got 7 of them in Bexar. I got 4 in Bell, 6 in Dallas, 5 in Harris, 2 in Guadalupe, 3 in Hidalgo, 5 in Travis, 2 in Tarrant. You see what I'm saying? And so here's the idea. The idea is to get you connected with people that are in your state, that are in surrounding. Oh, that's right. Somebody told me that before. Bexar is bare. Girl, I don't look at Texas enough for it to matter, but I know I keep doing that, but sorry. Because when I see it, I think Pixar. Like, fucking, that's what I have for having grandchildren, right? But this is what it looks like. The only state that I have it down to county level is Pennsylvania. And the reason why is because Pennsylvania, their state's website actually has it broken down by state. Okay. So there is a Facebook page for Project for the People. There is a Facebook group for Project for the People. And you also need to join my district. So Genevieve, I got you. I'm going to do North Carolina District 8 for you because you're the only person on that side that I haven't done anything for. So I'm going to share this tab and I'm going to go back to state resources. And what did you say again? You said North Carolina District 8. I got you. So watch, I'm going to go to North Carolina. I'm going to go to Congressional District 8 and I'm going to Medicaid. So 41,000 people are projected to lose their North Carolina Medicaid by 2034 because of the One Big Beautiful Bill specifically. And 29,000 are going to lose some or all of their SNAP. Okay. Now I've got a third round of graphics that it's not quite finished for all the state yet, but I will show you what they look like for those states that have it done. So I'm going to go to Wisconsin. And so this is, oh, I love that, Sin. So check this out. So remember those ACA premium tax credits that they did not, that they didn't extend, that the GOP refused to extend? So because of that specifically, these are the number of people that are going to be increased, that are going to become uninsured. So in Wisconsin District 1, that number is 15,000. I've seen some districts as high as like 60-some thousand. So let me see if I can do, who else do I know that I've done? I've done Ohio. I know I have. So this third round of graphics, yep. So this is 32,000. And in Michigan, oh, why do I have this on the wrong thing? I'm so glad I looked. I'll fix it. But anyway, that should be Ohio 3. Oh, it is Ohio 3. I just didn't change it on the graphic. I'll go back and fix it. But anyway, so these are the things that I've done. Now, the other one that I'm working on that is that takes me longer is a graphic that looks like this. So this is Tennessee, and this is Congressional District 1. And this is like a printable flyer. So see, this is the actual district. This is how many people are on Medicaid, which is 186,200. 20% of them, which is 3,000, are projected to lose their North Carolina. Why does this say North Carolina? I didn't upload the wrong one. Fuck my life. Sorry, y'all. I didn't say that. Sorry. I said that though. I did say that. Hold on. I uploaded the wrong one. I'll upload it though. So let me go back and show you one that actually looks correct, because that one does not. Utah flyer. There. So this is Utah's, and this is by because there's only 4 districts in Utah, period. Oh, and I can show you North Carolina. I don't know. It's because Tennessee's my own shit. So North Carolina, I want to say 14. I want to say 14. No, I don't want to move it. So let me go to North Carolina 14. Nope, 11. It's 11. I got a lot of states and districts floating around in my head. So this is what North Carolina looks like for District 11. See, so this one's right. There's 196,200 children and adults in Congressional District 11 that are on Medicaid. Okay. 21% of them, which is 41,000, are going to lose that because of the bill. This is SNAP numbers. This is how many people are on SNAP. This is how many people are going to lose it. And this is a QR code to get them to join Project for the People. Okay. So that's the long and the short of it. Listen, guys, here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going through. This is what happens. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you on the state resources, Sin? So listen, the last one that I just showed you, Sin, isn't done for all the states yet. Like I'm great, but I ain't Superwoman. But so, yeah, I love that, Terry. So listen, folks, here's what happens. Every time I pull this up and I show it to people, everybody starts putting their district, their state, their everything in the comments. Everybody does every time. Right. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You're welcome, Genevieve. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I do a sampling of them. I just did like what, 4 or 5 of them. I'm not going to sit here and go through everybody's. I'm going to ask you that as much as you want this information, imagine how much the people in your neighborhood want this information. So I'm going to ask you to be part of the solution and fill out a damn Google form and come to a meeting. Okay? That's what I want you to do. I want you to fill out your information, come to a meeting, and be part of something that is growing. And this is my thing, y'all. You can say whatever you want to say about the conservative party and the conservative movement. One of the things that they know how to do is work their plan. You can talk shit about Roger Stone all you want, but he'd be working his ass off. Talk shit about Alex Jones. He'd be working his ass off. Right? How do they notify the people whenever they get their things during open enrollment? Stacy, I've heard of him, but I don't know him. Hey, Fawn, I sent you an invitation to come join the panel. Yeah, you get a letter in the mail. Fawn, would you like to join? You seem to have an opinion about the truth. No, Fawn? Sure, Stacy. Right? So the goal is, think about this, you guys. On the same weekend There are going to be people all over the place. And when we do this, when we post it online, we actually use 2 hashtags. We use hashtag Project for the People and then hashtag Making America Truly Great. Because that's what we want to do. We want to make America truly great. Okay? And so, yeah, go to the link tree, put your information in, and as soon as I get done with this, I'll add anybody that joins right now while I'm live, and you will get a link for tonight. Listen, do not share my Google Drive with people. Listen, look at me real quick. Do not share my Google Drive with people. I got you, Jay Louise. Don't share my drive with people, because I will come for you. And by the way, just so you know, I can see what y'all do on my drive, just so y'all know. Okay? Just so everybody knows. Do not share the drive. You share the link for people to join the project. The hashtags are Project for the People, and the hashtag is Making America Truly Great. Lady Teddy Bear, all you do is go to my TikTok, like my about section, my bio, and then click it. That's all you got to do. So listen, and y'all think y'all are joking, and I'm kind of joking, but I'm not, but I'm dead ass. Look at my face. I am dead ass. Do not share my Google Drive. I am so serious. Because do you know what I'll start doing if that happens? Literally, do you know what I'll do? I have all y'all's email. I will share the drive only by email. If I have to do that, I will. Right now, it's just set for whoever has the link. But I swear on everything good and holy, I will lock this shit down. Because here's the thing. People need to, it's copywritten, yes. Trademark takes a long time. It is copywritten, yes. But let me just say this, y'all. People need to step the fuck up and work. If the only thing you gotta damn do is fill out a form to get access, then people need to show the fuck up and actually do some work to get it. That's the problem right now. People want shit for free, but don't want to show up to a meeting. And then people get access, but then don't share the information. And then you wonder why the fuck we lose. Right? Oh, Fawn, you copied down my HTTP to go into later? Well, good. I hope your ass learned something. Because you sound dumb as shit. I hope you learned something. Like, really, ain't nobody got time for you. And you're somebody's nurse. That's the shit. You are somebody's fucking nurse. That's what's sad. I'll copy down your HTTP to go to it later. Well, good. I hope your dumbass learned something. Shit. Anyway. Listen, you can't make people be decent human beings. Here's all I will tell you. This is all I will say to you. Be careful of the karma you create for yourself. Be careful of the karma you create for yourself. Because I got hella good energy. So when you try to fuck me over, expect for Lady Karma to come visiting you quick as hell. And she might come in ways you don't expect. She comes back threefold, as a matter of fact. I send that energy back to you threefold. Threefold. So fuck around if you want to. So anyway. Yeah. Appreciate it, Terry. All right. So now what I'm going to do, right. If you don't know what threefold is, that means times 3. Good catch, Becky, because, you know, Fawn might not know. Yeah. Cam, you know she ain't got to go nowhere. Appreciate it, Michelle. All right, Lady Teddy Bear, sounds good. 100%. Yeah, you can have all 3 times, love. All 3 times. Yeah. And listen, that works for good too. Listen, that works for good too. You bring me good energy, you come at me, you mean well towards me, you get 3 times that back as well. You follow me? You mean me good? You mean me well, you get that back times 3. You mean me harm, you get that shit back by times 3. Karma is good too. Karma is whatever you are. So if you getting a bunch of shitty karma, you might be shitty. Just so we're clear. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do our Pally panel. I'm going to keep talking about our issues over here so that TikTok doesn't mess us up, right? But that way we can help out our folks that live between the river and the sea. Hey, Jeff, good to see you. I know that you guys don't get to see what happens on this part, so I'm not going to hold you because it's, you know, whatever. But I appreciate you. If you are watching me on Twitch, on Instagram, on Substack, YouTube, or Facebook, I truly am grateful that you all tune in, even if I don't get to see all your comments, even if you don't get to join, whatever. I really do appreciate you all listening, learning, and growing together. And I will see you all tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.